Welcome back, everyone, to Lesser Known Operators. My guest this week is Adam Klakowicz, a Green Beret who spent time in the 7th, 20th, and 3rd Special Forces Group with a little bit of time in a Special Missions unit mixed in there. He retired not that long ago, but spends his time down in Fayetteville riding his skateboard around and living his best life. I'll have links to his socials in the show description. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, comment, pass these episodes along to your friends, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Adam Klakowicz, welcome to Lesser Known Operators. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Fuck, man, I reached out to you. You're always liking my lesser known Instagram posts on my lesser known operators page. So I hit you up. It took me a while of scrolling to actually figure out that you were um, in group and you'd been a Green Beret, because it's something you said earlier that it's not really part of your personality. You don't show it off to anybody. You don't kind of talk about it. So I just scroll back down. Why do you think that becomes such a part of guys' personalities once they get out?
Well, reason being, especially for uh, folks that retire, it's like, you just did something for so many years. It's if you join at 18 and you retire after doing like 20 years in the army, or like, let's say you came in the army, maybe you had a little college at 22, you do 20 years. Some guys do 25, and boom, half your life, more than half your life has been this, and everything else previously in your life has gotten you up to that point. And so now this is mostly all that you pretty much know about life, is being a Green Beret, or even other folks that are in the, retired as an infantryman or anything else like the military life. Like that's what you've done most of your life, for more than half of it.
Yeah, it's not limited to special operations, right? You can see that where, and civilians might not notice this, but if you drive around, some people take it to the full extreme where they've got everything they've ever done in their military plastered on the back of their vehicle, stickers and awards and accolades and all this other shit. I'm going to take a guess that that's not you.
No, no, I do not
Okay.
have my ERB on the back of my vehicle.
And to those who don't know, an ERB is an enlisted records brief. It outlines everything you did or failed to do throughout your career, and your pretty much promotions are all based on black and white on a piece of paper. But why do you think it's not so much a part of your personality? Is that just kind of your attitude? You just went, "Yep, I did that, and now on to the next thing."
Uh, well, I mean, I've done a lot of other stuff in my life. Like I had some life. I joined a little late, so I was about 22 when I joined, and I grew up in Philadelphia. I already had a couple of jobs from college. I was boxing at the time. Um, and that was my initial plan to come in the Army, was to go to the all Army boxing team, come out and turn pro. And that was kind of a deal between me, a couple of my boxing coaches, and my dad. Like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And then my dad kind of coached me through, because my dad's a Vietnam vet. He was 3rd or 17th Air Cavalry in Vietnam. Did a 2 tours back to back, and he kind of schooled me up on the Army and the military in general, about the different jobs. He's like, hey, get a school, or get like a technical skill, because if the boxing thing don't work out for whatever reason, he's like, you have something else. And he's like, the Army will give you college if you want to go back to school. Like, make sure you get something so that you have something to you know fall back on, I guess, if the whole boxing career thing didn't work out. And I was like, all right. Um, so, so I came in as a map maker. I was a map maker when I first came in, and the old MOS used to be 81 Tango, topographic analyst. And then they changed it to like 21 uniform. And then now I think it is a 12 Yankee. It got absorbed by the engineers. Now it's a terrain, or terrain specialist, some topographic specialist, some I can't remember the exact name. I looked it up a little while ago to see what it was, and I just can't remember for the life of me. But basically, you're a map maker. You take map data and you provide maps to the commander, whoever asked for them. Like I worked in like a map shop. Like it was a cool job when I did my job, and but I had already done all that. Like I was in Germany for my first trip, uh, like my first duty station. I was stationed in Hanau and then moved to Heidelberg. So it wasn't SF wasn't even on the radar, to be honest with you. I had no aspirations of becoming a Green Beret except for the Rambo movies and Predator that I watched when I was a kid. Like that was really my only exposure to it. Like I
I mean,
didn't
that's
know
that's a big jump
any.
though from map maker to Green Beret though. That's almost as big as my friend who was a welder that went to be a Green Beret after that.
Yeah,
Like those things are very far apart.
yeah, and normally you have like and most of SF is either X-rays or guys that came from combat arms MOS, and it's like your typical path is like you're in the infantry, you go to ranger school, maybe you make sergeant, you're a team leader in the infantry, team leader, squad leader in the infantry, and then like you're like, all right, the next progression is SF or ranger battalion or the unit, and for me, uh, I was boxing in Germany. I wound up being I think there's a newspaper article that had me listed as like 8-0 with 5 knockouts while I was over there. And I had won the Armed Forces Europe Championships in 2004. And that one, so you Google my name, Adam Klakowicz boxing, the write up comes up. And so that automatically gave me what they call a bid to try out for the All Army team. And so I talked to the All Army boxing coach, got a hold of him. He saw the stuff because it was in Stars and Stripes, so pretty big newspaper at the time. And so I talked to him, and I was supposed to go try out for the All Army team. I think in August 2004 at Fort Huachuca. It was either August or October. I can't remember when the tryouts were. And for whatever reason, my commander at the time wouldn't let me try out. So that kind of shattered some dreams. And so I kept boxing and like picked back up my skateboard. And because I was kind of like down in the dumps about it, and skateboarding kind of brought me out of it. And which was cool. But I kept boxing, and growing up, boxing and skateboarding, like that was my thing. And so there were some SF recruiters that came down to our unit, and it was right before I was getting the my paperwork together to go to put in my packet to go try out for the All Army team. A couple of SF recruiters, dude comes in, 6'4", 230, monster, perfectly pressed uniform, Green Beret. Who wants to try out for Special Forces? I only want to talk to the people with 300 PT score and the expert rifle. Everybody else get out of here, and like there was like three of us. And it was me, I'll use nicknames Sticky, and this other Mike, and because I don't know what they're doing right now, and I haven't talked to them in years. And so talked to the guy, and Mike wanted to go to Ranger Time. Sticky was getting out. I was trying out for the All Army team, but the All Army thing didn't work out. I was supposed to go home on Christmas leave. I got my leave canceled, because the commander can do that, and they moved me to another spot in Germany. That kind of broke my heart. So I was in Germany for a year, boxing my ass off for the Army, and I get shafted. I just wanted to come home, see my family. I'm a young kid, never been out of the country in the first place. I go to Germany with the Army. I'm like, yeah. And so once they moved me to Heidelberg, I think it was January 5th, 2005, I showed up, and the first thing I said to my squad leader uh, JD at the time. Uh, I looked right at him. I was like, I want to go to special forces. I don't know what that is, but I want to get out of here. And at the time, right? So here's something like now you have to do like your commander has to give you a letter of recommendation and all to go. At that time, I didn't have to tell my chain of command that I was going. It was a different thing. So I put the packet in without because like where we were like a terrain team assigned to Heidelberg Fifth Corps headquarters, and the our base station was in Hanau. So we were kind of out there flapping. Like, and I had like a warrant officer and a lieutenant in charge of me. That was like our platoon. And so I put the packet in. I go to selection, and I come up on the per stat. And people out there don't know what a per stat is. There's a personnel status. You have uh, basically it's a daily report of where everybody is. If you're present for duty, or if you're at medical, at dental, if you're deployed somewhere, or if you're uh, PCSing, like there's like a list and tells the commander where everybody is. So I'm coming up on the per stat, and I didn't find this out till later when I got back. Was I'm coming up on per stat for 3 days as at Fort Bragg, and my commander's like, "What's this guy doing at Bragg?" I knew nothing about this, and but yeah, I was at selection in March of 2005.
Yeah, they put it's a little tougher to go now. I even when I went, I think in 12, I went to the library and listened to the brief and signed the paper, and the guy's like, "Yeah, you're going. There's nothing your commander can do about it." And I was like,
Yeah,
"Sweet," because they weren't happy. No one's happy to. No one in the regular army. I wouldn't say no one, but anybody in a leadership position is really not happy that you're trying to go somewhere else and do great things for your career. They want
yeah,
you to serve them and the bigger army as a whole. It's like you're turning your back on your unit. And
yeah,
and
and
my whole philosophy was like, these people don't know their ass from a hole in the wall. I got to get the fuck out of here.
yeah,
That was mine. So what was your reason? Was it just because you said I don't know what special forces is? So
yeah.
it must have just been your unit. You're like, fuck this place. I'm getting let down. I got to get out of here.
Well, yeah. Well, I was denied the to go try out for the boxing team, and at the time, right, I had a changeover of commanders too. So I had a new commander, and so it was Captain Wolf. Was the old commander who was like 100%. My platoon sergeants, everybody was Sergeant Zabriskie. Shout out Sergeant Zabriskie and Sergeant Danley and Sergeant Depew at the time, and Sergeant Miles, who were just 100% supportive. They came to my fights, watched me, get in a ring and do my thing. And but when they changed over commanders and we got a new commander, and I'll throw him under the bus, Captain Michael Wood. If you're out there, I hate you. And the I don't know what he's doing today. I really don't care. Like, dude, you totally ruined. Like, I should have been in a ring with Floyd Mayweather. Like, this, it was not in the cards. Like, and but so that was the change, and he came in, and he was the one that I presented my paperwork to like a week after him getting there. And you're absolutely right. And he's like, "No, you're my best soldier. I can't lose you." I'm like, I'm your best. Like, me? Like, that's it. If I leave, the army falls apart. Like, that's kind of like the gist he was giving me. And
And the best
uh,
soldier in the regular army could just be the guy that runs the fastest, right? That could be the best guy, the best soldier in a company or a battalion, just because he can run an 11-minute 2 mile is the
yeah,
best
yeah,
soldier.
that's it.
That's how they
Yeah,
quantify. And I don't know how it is now. They've changed up kind of PT standards and everything. But if you're physically normal, you're just kind of towards the bottom and, just
yeah,
consider a normal soldier. But if you can run fast, oh my God, heavens, the sea parts and you can
yeah,
walk your way into heaven in the regular army.
that's it, man. Man, I should have been a sergeant major 3 years in if that were the case, man. I used to be run pretty fast.
Yeah, sometimes I think about that of what if I just would have stayed in the regular army? What would have happened? Because I wouldn't have got hurt on the ocean, but maybe I'd have gotten blown up and overseas or something like that, or I was destined to get hurt. But what if some of these guys had just stayed in the regular army like me or you and just fucking made everybody else look bad for their whole career?
Yeah, and but at the same time, the job that I had wasn't. And because I simply just didn't know, right? So when I was in Hanau, when I first got to my unit, they were still deployed. They were in Iraq. So I didn't see any of those cats for like maybe the first 5 months that I was in my new unit. So I didn't really, it was like me and like five other people that I went to like map school with at Fort Belvoir that like showed up like, hey, and there was like three people on rear D, like, welcome to the unit. Or like, okay, what do we do? And like, oh, we'll come by and check on you every morning. I was like, all right. And then I found the nearest boxing gym and figured that out on my own and did that. But yeah, so I didn't really get to do the actual terrain analyst job until I got to Heidelberg, and which actually wound up being pretty cool. I was like, all right, when you're doing the job, like it's pretty cool. But even up until that point, like we weren't there was nothing really to do. Like we weren't making maps or anything. Like wasn't doing the job. It was just like kind of like show up, all right, mop the. It was almost like I did some time in the National Guard too, in SF and 20th Group, and it was where we worked in Grossalheim. Kind of looked like a drill hall. Like if for those out there that are kind of familiar with a National Guard armor, it kind of looked like that. I was like, all right, mop this, clean this, and like I pull out inventory things and motor pool Monday, and but all in all, it wasn't a very my first look at a regular unit in the army for the first year was not a good look, but
It's
it
nothing
was
like you think it's going to be when you get to basic training, right? And then you think you're going to go onto your unit, and it's kind of just this everyone's settled in and kind of comfortable where they're at. 9 to 5, Georgia job where you can get yelled at and thrown in jail if you don't shave. And you got to
yeah,
do PT, but still half your unit's fat, which blew my mind. You get to the unit and there's people that are grossly overweight and just hanging
yeah,
out there.
that's an interesting one, but uh, I will say there is the looks can be deceiving though, because we did have one guy, older guy, chief. I can't even remember his name, but I mean, he didn't look the part, right? But this, I mean, 13 minute 2 mile, guy could do 100 push ups and just rock the PT test. And you're like, that's a warrant officer. They're like mythical creatures anyway. He was a CW3. And
Mm.
you never know what you're going to get with them. But when you actually watch them perform, you're like, oh, okay, that's a warrant officer. And that was interesting to see. It was like, man, you think like U.S. Army soldier, in shape, lean and mean fight machine. And he was not, didn't look like it, but he was.
Yeah, there's always an anomaly, right? Where if
Mhm.
they just no matter what they do are going to be cardiovascularly and physically strong if they work out or they don't work out. And well, man, if they would have applied themselves earlier, or maybe they did and they're just done with it. But I
Yeah,
remember, yeah, there was a guy at AIT who was not a physical looking specimen, but could run an 11-minute 2 mile. And it was unbelievable. You're watching him going, how? How is this possible? He's lugging around 50 some extra pounds of fat
yeah,
and just could do it. And he's smoking too. You're out of the smoke pit and they're smoking out there too. And like, how?
yeah,
How?
yeah.
What
And
was it like having a dad? How was it like having a dad that was a Vietnam vet? Because did your dad get drafted or did he volunteer to go?
my dad got drafted in '68, and
How was that growing up?
he never really talked about it. To be honest with you, he didn't talk about it until I got older and started. Well, until like after. I'd say like 9/11 happened in the war, and you're seeing his stuff on TV, and you would see that it would get to him, like because he was a crew chief on the Huey Cobras, and then he would go, he would door gun a lot of stuff. He was like cross trained on the UH-1 as well, so he was, you know, on helicopters all the time, crew chief and stuff. And I mean, we never talked about specifics that he saw in Vietnam, but you could tell like some stuff, bothered him. And so it wasn't like, what you see like whopper freakouts where he would spaz out or anything. Like he held it together pretty good because he was only in for 2 years. That was his contract. If he the way his worked, like he came in, went to basic, which he did it at Fort Bragg because they opened up a lot of different bases to do uh, basic training. So if you remember, where the where Duke Field is up there on Gruber and Butner out that way. There's like by the 82nd, by the big water tower, or I'm sorry, Pike Field, and
The big parade
there's
field.
like the old World War II barracks back there, and that's where my dad did basic training. Like if you go out, I think it's Long Street, and there's the bayonet range there. Yeah, they used to walk right from there out to the ranges, and but that's where he did basic, and then he went to, I can't remember where he said, Fort Eustis was where he did flight school, and then he didn't even in process to his unit here in the States. Is like he went right from Eustis to Vietnam and linked up with his unit there, and his was, if he did just a 6 months tour, he would have came back, and then he would have had to go back again, and but he decided to stay. He stayed for 13 months, got promoted to sergeant. They sent him home and reassigned him to a reserve unit to finish out his 2 years draft contract, and that's what he did. And then he became a welder for the city of Philadelphia, and he retired doing that. And so, but yeah, I mean, 13 months straight in Vietnam, no thanks, you know?
No, you can fucking keep it. And yeah, that was a theme of a lot of guys that came back is they just didn't talk about it. And
Right.
especially the SF dudes. And that's kind of a theme that we've developed on the show here is that the guys coming out of Vietnam that were SF guys really kind of started that whole quiet professional thing of not talking about anything because when they're coming back, they're getting spit on and called
Yeah.
baby kill and all this shit. So a lot of guys just never really talked about what they did and didn't want to associate with the public and have that image of them. Did you?
Yeah.
So you must have had it like your thoughts on your dad's service when you were a kid growing up because you don't have any reference point. You're just a kid, right? And whatever your dad's not telling you much. Did you kind of grow to understand once you got into the military and then started seeing rotations and going, man, that must
Yeah.
have
Once
sucked
I
because
came back
how
from,
you had it. You know how you had it. That's one way
yeah.
because the might of but going to Vietnam, that's a whole fucking mess in itself.
Yeah. And, uh, and my dad didn't really like open up to me and like share because I have my stories, the blood and guts, which isn't like some guys had like harrowing adventures and crazy tales. I don't have any of that, and like I don't have any Valor Awards, no Purple Hearts. I wouldn't say I didn't have bad days, but I didn't have any, catastrophic days. Usually, when uh, somebody's got a Purple Heart or a Valor Award, yeah, you might have done some Valors, but usually that contends that it was a pretty bad day. And so when I came back from my first trip from Afghanistan, that was when my dad, hey son, come have a beer with me out back and we'll talk. And then that was when we started going back and forth telling stories, and it was like that was like I got to know, not that I didn't like know, like I knew my dad, like or know my dad, like he's my dad, it's my father, he's great, loves me, and I love him. And then, but I didn't know that side of him until probably I was about, how old would I have been when I got back? Probably 27, 28 when I finally sat down with him, and we started telling the stories. And I wish I could have had my could have sat down and talked with my Uncle Jim, and couple. I had like three family members that fought at the Battle of the Bulge and didn't know each other until they came back to Philadelphia and married their wives, who all happened to be sisters. So that was kind of interesting with that growing up. So I wish I would have been able to talk to them about it and get that shared experience. But I get talking to my dad, and more than enough. And so I understand my dad a little bit better and why his quirks and things that he does now. And I'm like, all right, I recognize that because I do it because of the same reason,
Yeah, that's crazy to think about, right? Had you grew up your whole life with knowing one person, and then the only way you really got to know what made him that person is because you had to go off and do terrible things because your country told you to do, and
Yeah,
that's pretty that's pretty fucked up, and it just kind of shows you the toll it takes on your personality and your mental health when you have to go do those things, and then you're
yeah,
and then you're in the club, which so to speak.
yeah. That's my dad. That's not like my brother or my cousin or, it's my dad. He didn't really, we didn't really talk about it until then, until I got my taste. He would tell me stuff while I was going through the Q course, which is pretty cool because while I was going through the Q course, um, I had a lot of breaks too. I know now, like from being in SWIC, my last posting was I was NCOIC of the language school, and and then I switched, and then I was student management detachment cadre, and but when I was going through the Q course, I had a lot of breaks, so I was able to just shoot up to Philly on the weekends, see my parents all the time. Like that was pretty cool, and cadre kind of left me alone, because I was still boxing at the time. I had like a couple more fights like while I was going through the Q course, which I probably and so I was able to get back up to Philly to train, and there was a couple of gyms and a couple of guys that boxed down while I was going through the Q course, so I was able to stay with that. But able to get up, and while I'm home and I'm going through the Q course, my dad's, he's letting a little bit more out, a little bit more out, a little bit more out. And then I came back from Afghanistan after that first trip, and he was opened up,
Yeah.
and which was eye opening, for one. Like I didn't know some of that stuff that he did, and he's got some funny stories. He's had some harrowing adventures, and just if people don't want to talk about it, they don't want to talk about it, and I wasn't gonna pull teeth to get it out of them.
Yeah, that's just it's a to remember, if you're not, if you didn't serve and you're a civilian, right? And somebody went to go do something, they went overseas, and maybe they have a valorous order or they don't or something, or they don't want to talk about it or and things like that. There's second and third level of behind the curtain to that sort of thing of what makes somebody up. And maybe they're this way because of something that could have happened to them. So it's always just good to, I guess, have a perspective of what
Yeah,
somebody may have gone through. And a lot of times when people assume with me that I did all this shit. Well, I didn't. I never got the opportunity to go to combat or anything like that. So I'm up front with that right away. So I guess be cognizant of it, but never assume anybody did anything. But just there's always that possibility of, hey, this could be this way because of X, Y, and Z. So,
yeah,
but you go, Vietnam vet, and you're going through. So when was it? Because it sounds like you brought it up a few times. You were pretty set on boxing.
yeah,
You're pretty good then.
yeah. I got my bags downstairs and stuff. I got my little gym. I still keep up with it and move my hands, but I'm not. I went and got my TBI checks and everything. Like I got a clear head. My wife will tell you otherwise. But I just keep up with it. I'm not in the ring. I'm not sparring or anything anymore. And she's always telling me I should open a boxing gym, and I'm like, that might be in the cards. Yeah, who knows? I might do that because I do have a passion for boxing. Growing up in Philly, like throw a rock, you'll hit a boxing gym. They're everywhere. It'd be pretty hard pressed to find someone that grew up in Philadelphia and hadn't set foot in a boxing gym. And like a lot of my friends boxed when we were kids, so we would always have like fight parties at my house and all that, and or at my friend's house. You go watch all the boxing matches and stuff. Like it was a thing. So
Yeah, I imagine because the Rocky movies are still coming out when you're a kid, right? The good ones.
yeah,
I guess I mean it depends on your perspective on anything where they started to turn, but in Philadelphia's the home of Rocky Balboa.
yeah,
So was
yeah.
that part of the culture when you were a kid too, just watching Rocky movies and
Oh yeah, like yeah. Watching Rocky, and then Philly. We had a lot of Joe Frazier, always battling Muhammad Ali. I don't want this to turn into a boxing podcast. I'm like an encyclopedia with this stuff. We had, Meldrick Taylor, we had Bernard Hopkins was just coming up in the 90s, who wound up being, one of the greatest middleweights of all time. Um, just a ton of fighters. And then I remember when I first set foot in the boxing gym and meeting Brian McKinley, and he was a pro fighter, meeting Glenwood Brown, like, the pro fighter. I'm like watching these guys on TVs, and I'm like, there's like the boxing gym up the street, and I walk in there, and I got a late start. I didn't start going down to the gym till I was probably about 17 years old, probably my senior year in high school. I'm like watching these guys box on TV. Like I go down, I'm like, these guys train at my gym. Like, wild. Like it's like the light heavy WBO light heavyweight champion of the world. It's like I'm hitting speed bag next to him. Like that's kind of like a local living legend that's a world champion, and I'm in the gym working out next to him. Like pretty cool stuff. And so yeah, it was. I mean, Philadelphia boxing culture is like it's a thing. It still is a thing.
yeah, everybody that's a high level athlete or mid level athlete or celebrity, right, is somewhere's their hometown, and they were a regular person, and they just got big at a gym, and that's where they train and shit like that, right? I remember when
Yeah,
I was working construction in Lake Forest, Illinois. I went to the McDonald's, and I just jokingly I said to the woman at the window, I said, "Oh, was Michael here today? Michael Jordan?" And she
yeah,
goes, "Oh, no, he was here earlier to get a coffee and then he left," as a throwaway statement because they saw him every fucking day because he lived there.
yeah,
To them, it's just Michael
yeah,
Jordan. But to me, it was Michael Jordan, which I know I said it the exact same way, but it carries a way different. So you're boxing next to people you think are legends, and they're just like,
yeah,
it's just Joe.
yeah.
That's great.
Not even that, because uh, it's a little different in the boxing gym because it's not like it's not like you compare it to like to like Michael Jordan, right? I'm not getting on the court. I'm never going to have the opportunity to play basketball with Michael Jordan, or I might have to pay $300 for a ticket to go see him play in a game. Like I don't get to go to Michael Jordan's practice. Like I walk in the gym and I'm seeing Glenwood Brown hitting the mitts, and you're hearing that snap, and you're watching some of the other pros spar, like Will Boggs wound up turning pro, Chris Babani wound up turning pro. I used to spar those guys, and I'm getting in there, I'm like in the ring with them, and and they're high level amateurs, and at the time, and I'm getting to like feel their power, see their speed, and I'm moving with them. I can't call Mike and be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
Mike, you want to get a little one-on-one down at the playground?" Like, it don't work like that. So it was a little different for me. Like, I'm actually I'm getting to see it and witness it feel it, and then and then watch them on TV do their thing, or go down to the Spectrum or the Blue Horizon or any of the arenas in Philly, and actually see them go, and then through the training cycle and the weight cut and all of that, and like the stuff that I had to do, and and then like I think my first amateur match, like Tim Witherspoon and Marvis Frazier, Joe Frazier's son, they're like in the crowd, like me as an amateur, because they're fans of boxing too. They're like watching me fight, like crazy. It's a little different than like
Yeah.
Jordan.
Well, that's cool though. You get to see the difference because amateur encompasses everything from I just started today all the way up until, you're starting to fight pros. There's a
Right.
big
All
range
the
in
way up
there.
until like you're uh you win the Olympic gold medal. So you got whatever X amount of amateur bouts under your belt, and then sooner or later you turn pro, if that's
Mm.
where you want to stick it out at.
People ask me a lot when I'm sports or anything really, the difference from amateur to professional is unbelievable, right? Because after amateur, you're doing it's your job. And then you've
Yeah.
got people that are sponsoring you. You've got the best food, you've got the best supplements, you got the best trainers. But the amateur part, you're doing it kind of all yourself. Is that kind of the same way in boxing too? Maybe you have a coach, but once you make that jump to professional, is it just tiers above where you were as an amateur?
No. So the differences between amateur boxing and professional boxing is one, you're getting paid. And if you're a low level pro, like just getting started, or everybody's a prospect when they turn pro. Everybody's gonna be they're the next world champion, right? And but then you have journeymen, and there's cats that are just journeymen. Their record might be 15-15, but they just like boxing, and they might be a stepping stone for a prospect coming along. And boxing needs those people. Who knows? I might have been a journeyman. I might not have been a top level pro, and so the jump one, you're fighting with in the amateurs, you got the headgear, uh, and then I think up to, and somebody that's out there in amateur boxing right now can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think up to 152, you're fighting with 10-ounce gloves, and anything over 152, like moving I think 161, you're boxing with 12-ounce gloves, and then when you get into the pros, it's like 8 ounce below 154, and then it's like 10-ounce gloves above once you get to 160 and above. So there is a little bit of a difference, and equipment wise, but you're still getting punched in the face.
Yeah, you're just getting hit. What was it about boxing though that drew you in? Was it just that fucking competitive primal sport?
I don't know. I think I was watching so much of it, and there's a couple of my friends boxed at different gyms. A couple of them boxed at Harrogate Gym, Front Street Gym, and then I had Jack Costello's boxing club in my neighborhood. I was just up there recently in Philly, and I went up, stopped in there with one of my old sparring partners, Dominique Collette. Shout out Dom, the knockout queen. She's awesome. Works with the kids there and runs a really good program. And stopped in there, and some of my friends boxed down at Costello, so I would go down there. My good friend of mine, God rest his soul, Mikey Strange, who grew up right out back of me, he boxed down there. Mikey was on Extortion 17, the helicopter. He was on ST6. He was over at Dev Crew as a direct support guy. I went down on a helicopter. But yeah, I used to go to the gym, box with him. And yeah, so I kind of naturally kind of gravitated towards it. And because I was athletic as a kid, played baseball, football, hockey. Not real. Hockey was like playing like roller hockey. I didn't play ice hockey. Um, Basketball, football when I was young, super young, and soccer a lot. And then I don't know, for whatever reason, I just let me go do this boxing thing. It
So
worked
why
out.
not
Wound up being
pursue
pretty good at it.
why not pursue the career as a civilian? Why try and make it through the army?
So because of my age at the time, I think when I when I first started competing, I was about 19, and that's how like uh like I would go down and get a match. It wasn't like and that's another thing difference between the amateurs and the pros. Like I don't know who I'm boxing until I get to the event. Like whereas in the pros, like there's promoters, like a couple months out who you're fighting, right? And I can watch the film of them, and I can study and see what he's going to do when I throw a jab, and and you can learn that. And amateurs, like, you have no clue, especially back then. Like there was no YouTube, nothing. Like you couldn't like see like if I got to box some kid from Ohio who just happened to drive to Philadelphia to get a match, and because you had that, we'd have people coming from New York, DC, or we would go there to just to get a match to go box somebody different, learn a different style, or see just amateurs. Like it's a lot about exposure and not necessarily what your record is, but it's just like, hey, how many fights do you got, right? And because like let's say you're 8-0 in the amateurs or something, and then like once you get 10 fights, now you go into what they call the open class. So I could be like 5-6 and have 11 fights, and next thing you know, I'm boxing in the open class, and now I'm in the ring with a dude that's got 100 fights, right? That experience is going to show like pretty quick, and not necessarily who the better fighter is, but who has the more experience because they've done it longer. So you have that difference. That's probably a big difference from the amateurs to the pros, but they'll try to match you up when you get there according to skill level, because you just don't know who you're boxing until you get there. And sometimes there'd be like a line out the door of people trying to get in there to get their kids a match or a smoker, depending on what neighborhood you're in.
So what difference did the army provide though? So now you enlist, you go to
Yeah,
basic training, and then because you don't know, the recruiter can tell you all you want to hear, right? When you're signing the contract, oh, you're going to be able to do this, but it's as you said, what happened to you. The commander makes the final decision, and if
right,
they've got a different plan for you, that's the way you're going to go.
right. And so, well, my boxing coach, Bobby Walls, he was a cop, but he was also in the National Guard in Pennsylvania. He was a cavalry scout, and so he kind of like pushed me towards that, and yeah, I mean, it was kind of like a all encompassing idea. It was like kind of like, hey, like we don't, because of your age and your weight class, because it's how I'm 19 years old, 104, like 140 pounds. Like I could have made 127 if I wanted to, and I think it was 132 at the time. Like I could have made, or no, it was at 129. She wound up changing the weight classes. That was an interesting story too for when I went to do the Armed Forces Championships. But so he was one like, hey, all army boxing team, and I think he knew the coach and like didn't tell me, and like called and was like, hey, this guy's coming. About a year you're gonna hear this name, and you know, and so it worked out, and that coach wound up calling Germany looking for me. So that was, I talked to him on the phone and all that. Like, yeah, I'm doing paperwork now, and this is like before email. Like I had to go down. There was like the was like I could find it online. Like I had to go down to the MWR director, and they had the paperwork because that's what it was under. And and then they started the world class athlete program. But what would have been cool is because the all army team was based at Fort Carson, and Fort Carson's right next to Colorado Springs. And who trains at Colorado Springs? The U.S. Olympic boxing team. So I would have been boxing those guys, and I would have got exposure. And And there's some notable pros that were in the Army or in the Marine Corps that wound up turning pro. One being Ken Norton was a Marine, and he was on the Marine Corps boxing team, Olympics, all that good stuff. And so he went through that program, turned out very successfully, and wound up becoming one of the top heavyweights of all time. So the program works. And but yeah, that was kind of how I got pushed in that direction. And because I think it was, plus I had a couple hand injuries in Philly before I think it was 99 or it might have been 2000 right before the Golden Gloves. I messed my right hand up on a freak accident on Chris Pavani's head. I wound up sending this knuckle back and kind of bent this. You can still kind of see it a little bit. It's like things like looks kind of funny. And then the next year I wound up another freak accident, tore my thumb on Devin Hayward's headgear. I wound up punch went over his head and my thumb caught the top of his headgear and yanked that back. And I was out for about, I don't think I could box for like 6 months. So I missed the Golden Gloves 2 years in a row. And then it was kind of, but then I was still getting the smokers and the matches on the side, but it was nothing that was like noteworthy. So it was like Army,
Yeah.
see what happens.
So last one on that. What's the highest accolade you received on the Army side when you were boxing? What'd you get record
Armed Forces Europe Championships 2004. It's probably one of the top 3 moments of my life. So
what was that? How many matches did you have to win to get that?
So it was, I forget, because I think it was kind of like who showed up, because around that time, because it was 2004, so there wasn't really many people that were back home on home station boxing. Like the war was in full swing, in both Afghanistan and Iraq. And so it was a little different. So there wasn't a lot. Like I was just doing the boxing in the Army, like the shows and stuff. And then I think I did like 2 matches on like the European circuit, because I had a German coach when I was over there, Gerd Wolf. And I used to box his son, Mirko, who was a pro. So I got real lucky too, being able to box like super experienced people that really showed me a lot of stuff. And but yeah, there was no criteria for it. Like I guess this other guy, he had a couple fights over there, and he won. They're like, all right, you guys are paired up for the championship. It wasn't like a nationally ranked like Golden Gloves or Silver Gloves or Pan Am Games or Olympic style like that. But yeah, it put me in with this guy and like, all right, here's your medal. I wound up knocking the guy out in the 4th round and gave him a medal. I got the pictures. Like it was awesome. I was like, I'm the champ. Like I'm in Stars and Stripes. Like it was a very, very good feeling. It's probably the highest sports accolade. Yeah, definitely the highest sports accolade I've ever gotten.
That's
Like
badass,
in my
man.
life.
It feels good to have an accomplishment. You work towards a goal. So
Yeah.
but
I'm riding a high, man. Like I'm like, yeah, that's it. Like I'm the champ of Armed Forces Europe. Like there's nowhere else for me to progress. Like the next place is the all Army team. Like that's my 10-meter target now. Like I'll do whatever just to get there and try out. If I try out and I don't make it, all right, I didn't make it. I wasn't good enough. I forget the guy's name. That was the in my weight class who was on the all Army team at the time, and he was really good. Like, cause there used to be a USA Boxing magazine, and like his neck, like he was ranked, I think like number 9 in the country at the time. And I was like, man, I got to fight this guy for his spot on the team, and which would have been interesting. But yeah, or they might have just kept me on as a sparring partner, which still would have been cool. And then I would have been on the all Army team, and I would have just boxed the whole time for the rest of my time in the Army for my 3-year contract. So I would have been home. And then I think, what was it? If I would have made the team, I would have stayed in. I would have tried out while on the Army team. I would have tried out for the, like, this was the plan. This was all along. Like, coach from Philly laid it all out. It was like, okay, '07, go to Olympic trials for the '08 team. If you don't make the '08 team, or if you let's say I go to the Olympics and like I don't win the Olympics, whatever. Hey, you come back home and you turn pro. And that was the plan. Because there's a lot of world champions out there that never fought in the Olympics. So it's not, you know, you don't need to win that to become a good professional fighter. So that was kind of the plan with boxing. That was the plan. So
And for everybody listening at home, the program now is, as you said earlier, world-class athlete program, right? And
yeah,
the Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, they all have athletes in this program, and they're in every sport from boxing to soccer to wrestling to online gaming
speed
now.
walking.
Is there a speed walker? That's impressive.
I I saw this when I got to Bragg, and it was because I used to go to the library and get the magazine, the Swick Library, and went back when I was at Bank Hall. Or no, it's still there at Bank Hall. And I used to go in there, he said the magazine. I flip over to back the one day, and there's a dude. I read the thing down there. Army, we're a class athlete program, Army speed walking team. But that was like 2007. I don't know, or 2006, somewhere around there. So I don't know if that's still a thing, but I
it's all
remember.
just a big it's just a big advertising for the military, right? They put these athletes out there and they compete at a high level, and it gets the name out there. Oh, I want to serve and try and do that, but then you'll end up cleaning urinals. You think you're going to be on the bowling team, but you're going to be cleaning the shitter. But
Yeah,
uh, yeah, I even
yeah,
saw, and this was a while ago. There's a Green Beret on the Army gaming team, like online professional gaming team. Did you see that a few years ago? There
yeah.
was
What
some
was
meme.
his? I can't remember the name, but I think he retired too. I think he's done now. Yeah. Uh, I don't know the guy's name, but I remember seeing some stuff about him, and like he was uh pretty stout fella and very good at Call of Duty, you know, or whatever game it was. So I was like, that's rad though, like that's the thing, because how many times, when you were in the regular army, I don't know if you guys did this. I'm sure you did some online gaming, but so when I would be in the barracks in Germany, we didn't have like Wi-Fi or anything, but we would have like Halo parties, and you would see that LAN cable come out, and everybody had their Xbox 360 and would be playing. You'd have the old. And I was like, oh yeah, I've got pictures of me in Germany, and see the wires going down the hallway of everybody connecting up their Xboxes to play Halo.
Yeah, that was the pre-Wi-Fi. Everybody would jump on, and it was yeah,
Yeah.
that was before me because the Wi-Fi was out when we lived in Korea. It was just everybody was playing online, and there was Cat 5 cables coming out of the rooms
Yeah.
plugged directly into the router, so that everybody
Mm-hmm.
could get really good internet and they could play online when we weren't doing
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Not that we were
Same
doing
thing,
anything
man.
in the first place, but so you go to selection. What was selection like in 2005? Because I posted a reel yesterday, and now this is old news because this will come up now. But the X-ray side of the house, they're getting brutalized and then going to selection. Where you're coming from the regular army and showing up, and you really didn't know what special forces was. How was that introduction at selection? Now coming from being a map maker.
I had absolutely no clue. Um, Special Forces assessment and selection is hands down the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Um, and just simply because I had no idea what to expect. Kids, you can go online now and you can get a program written by somebody that's been there. I won't do it, but there is plenty of stuff out there. Swick puts out a training program. Hit them up if you really want to go. All the information is available to you now. Uh, when I went through, I didn't know anything. They gave me like this rough based selection program, and nobody in my unit knew either. Like there was no, like the closest was like uh, 110 in Stuttgart. That was the only SF unit out there. Uh, but I didn't even know that they were there. I didn't have any, like, all I had was the recruiters, the SF recruiters. And I think one of the recruiters was an SF guy. And he was like, yeah, you need to ruck. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, you know, but I didn't know like what a training plan looked like for ruck marching. Like we didn't ruck in my unit. I was like, rucking, what's that? Like why would I do that? So I did a couple ruck marches and I just stayed in shape for boxing and I just wung it. And I made it. And like I had no idea about footwear or anything. I showed up with two pairs of jungle boots, one green pair, one black pair. They had the ripple soles and I had gel insoles in them. I don't know if I'm definitely dating myself, but it's like, are you gelling? Are you gelling? Because if you had
Gelling
gel
like a
insoles,
felon.
you were gelling. And, but I didn't know how horrible they were for my feet or anything. I was young and I was in incredible shape from boxing. And that helped me a lot. And more than anything else, like I just happened to be young and in really, really good physical condition and could take a beating. And
Yeah,
that's what it was like.
in when 2 Weeks in Hell came out, and that was in 2010 ish, I think, right? That
Yeah,
really introduced everybody to what it was. But before that, there's no looking up videos online, and there's nobody at your unit that has any information because they go to selection, they come back and they PCS and they leave. So that person now becomes a legend, the
yeah,
rumor of this person who passed selection, and you can't get any information from them. And especially where you're at in Germany, there's no running
yeah,
around and talking to people and trying to find out any information. No, you can't look anything up. You can't text anybody because you don't know anybody, or you're young guy in the army
I don't
and
know.
you don't know
I
anything.
saw
So if
one Green Beret in real life before I went to selection. That was it.
yeah, so all in your mind that was, I got to be tough because that guy looks like he's tough. It's probably going to be the prerequisite, and then you go and you show, and it's just a total mind fuck. But at least I got to watch 2 Weeks in Hell, so at least I knew
Yeah,
that. But now, as you said, there's people, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of selection focused, all the selections too, Air Force, Marines,
yeah,
dive school, everything that'll get you ready to go. And good on them. And as you said, not something I would do. I just trained legs and back constantly, and it worked out for me. And I just would never quit either.
yeah,
So, but that's I think that's more than half of it is the mental aspect of it. You can be as fit as you want and still
yeah,
get non-selected.
yeah. And there was probably about 40 people at the end that made it to the end and didn't get picked up. So that's a thing. And yeah, you're weighed and measured, and if you're found wanting, then there's the door, bud.
Rest in peace, Heath Ledger. Great
Yeah,
movie. If anybody got the movie line reference, but yeah, and that's a common thing that I don't think we've talked about on the show, right? Is you go to selection and you can, for lack of a better term, pass, which means finishing, and then be non-selected. So you made it all the way in, but you didn't get invited to go to the qualification course. And then you go to the qualification course and you can make it all the way through that and then not pass, which is rare to make it all the way through, but you can. Guys get dropped in the final exercise, Robin Sage, all the time. And I learned recently that sometimes a whole lane will get dropped, either recycled or kicked out of the course, and how they stop Robin Sage, which blew my
yeah,
mind. Like, wow, holy shit, that got to be a fucked up operation. Cadre are
yeah,
telling stories about you for the rest of your life. And then even more common when you get above special forces into some special missions units, I assume, and maybe you can fill in for me, is more common. Many people will make it all the way through everything and then get not picked up. Is that true?
yeah. And just I wouldn't say the percentage gets higher, but it's about the same.
Oh,
and
okay.
at least like I went to the operator assessment, and while I was over there, you ask questions, or people are just going to talk about it, because you're in the know, and it's about the same.
Oh, okay.
It's what you think it is. It is
Hmm.
what you think it is. Yeah,
Yeah. And then I don't know if you can tell me here, but yeah, maybe you can. Operator assessment and OTC, different things,
100%.
different lengths.
Yeah,
Yeah. One's
OTC is
one's
like,
a one's a short, you know, program and one is months. Okay. So, and if anybody's confused about what I said there, don't worry about it. So, um, so you get to so selection was the hardest thing you ever did in your whole fucking life. The course was
yeah,
easier then.
yeah, way easier, way easier. I had good teachers, and I because I didn't know anything, man. Like, for next thing I go into, because it was different. Like, they had the PLDCB knock, which is now ALWLC ALC, and that was out of Camp McCall. And I'm out there for 3 weeks, like, not really sure what to expect. And our cadre was this cat. I'm not gonna say his name because I don't know what uh what he's doing now. But it went from, I was like at Bragg, and it's like you're like, you will be in formation, and it's like, I'm like, all right, I'm like in the real army now, right? Like, okay, cool. And I was like hype on it, like, yeah, I'm shaved, get a haircut, like, went through jump school, I'm a paratrooper, like, right? I'm excited, like I'm in a real army now. And then I get out to PLDCB knock, and the cat, and he just pulls up like board shorts, flip flops. He's got like a 10th group shirt on. He's like, "What's up, studs?" It's like, do I go to parade restaurant? Like, who is this guy? Like, I don't know who he is. And that was kind of like my introduction to like, hey, big boy rules. And I was like, oh, okay. And he taught us a lot. Because like I didn't know anything like how to counsel soldiers or ERB or how any of that works. So it was like kind of a good flash into that, and like planning and stuff like that. Oh, and going back to real quick, I digress to back to selection. Land navigation was very easy for me because I was a map maker, and I had two incredible instructors that were contractors that ran a very good terrain association and land navigation class. Um, so that one paid huge dividends. But
Yeah,
fast forward back.
that would be rather embarrassing, right? If you were a map maker, all these skills, and then you go out in the woods and shit the bed. That'd
Yeah,
be
no, I flew through it. I had a relatively easy time. Like, I wasn't the fastest, but I had a plan because I think, and it changes. So when I went through, you had to get, I think it was 8 points total. If you got four in one day, you were done. And then, but I wound up getting three the first day, three the second day, two the third day, and I was done. So what I would do is I had a plan because I wasn't getting a lot of sleep. So I'd get three, and then I'd go find a draw and go to sleep, set my watch alarm. I did that 2 days in a row, and then the third day I got 2 points, went to sleep in a draw. And then you just go to the side of the road and they pick you up, and then they check your scorecard, like, oh, you got 8, you're done. Like, cool. And then go back and eat hot chow. So,
one thing
but
I didn't realize. Like I never missed a point in my whole army career. Not one of the training ones, not one of the actual ones. Nothing. And but I didn't. I'm a specialist going through the course, but I didn't realize like there were guys that were kind of gaming the system. They would on the training ones because they knew how to land nav and they knew the test. Like you had to pass the test. So I go out, I'm killing myself to find these training ones and the whole time.
oh,
And
Hoffman.
I find out later that guys would just go 200 meters off their first spot, go to sleep, and then kind of find their last spot and get picked
Yeah,
up for all the training points. And they were just
yeah,
saving energy. Where I'm out there, specialist ward, just fucking killing myself trying to find all the points that aren't graded.
yeah.
But luckily, maybe that was the train up because I would go out on the test night and find
Yeah.
all my points and be done. And
Yeah.
so I don't know what happened to those dudes that were out taking a nap, but good on you guys.
I made it.
That's some,
That's
yeah.
I was napping and I made
Were you?
it.
You did? You were? You're one of the guys? Fuck you.
Yeah, yeah. Not
Fuck you,
not during
man.
Hoffman. Like I kind of slow rolled during the Hoffman training stakes, and then you talk to because you'll run into people that are on their second, third try, and they'll tell you they're like, "Yeah, man, here's what you do," and it's like, "Okay, I'll do that." Even though it's like, "Oh, you'd be like, don't listen to the guys that've been here before because they didn't make it," and it's like, well, they're back again. Like obviously they know something. They'll probably now they've seen it. They've seen the monster behind the curtain. They'll probably have a better chance. But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. Well, it is good that I tell that little story and you're like, yeah, that was me. Well, fuck you, man.
yeah. Hey, work smarter, not harder, right? Yeah,
Uh, but I had the attitude in selection and in the course that I was going to leave nothing to chance. There's no going to be any opportunity. It's like when you take the PT test, right? You are full push-ups is the first thing we do. My hands, I mean, for lack, I mean, I was full on the
yeah,
ground, full extension. I wasn't going to leave anything to chance that I wasn't
yeah,
doing a push-up. I wasn't going to leave anything to chance that I wasn't doing a sit-up, and I wasn't going to fuck up my run. And that's
yeah,
how I did the whole course. While I was being graded or thought I was being graded or assessed, I left nothing to chance. And it worked out for me. But, some guys had a little more wherewithal than I did. I did not want
yeah,
to go back to the regular army ever. But yeah, whatever. So,
yeah.
what year were you in combined leaders training or whatever the ALC they called it?
That would have been because I finished. I mean, I love me book. I'm not gonna open it and look, but that would have been. I want to say August 2005. Yeah, because
Okay.
I finished because I went to selection and I made a deal. So here's another part of the story. So I made a deal with my squad leader at the time, uh, Justin Depew, who I was like, because they knew him and the two other guys had heard what had happened to me, like supposed to go to all army team, got my leave canceled. I told him, I was like, hey, if I make selection, I was like, I want to go on leave for 30 days in Philly and visit my family. And they were like, deal, we'll do the paperwork. I called him from the hotel after I got back from selection and was like, hey, I made it. And he was like, oh, shit. And I was like, can I go home or do I got to come back? He's like, no, you go home. We'll do the paperwork. You go home. And then he's like, I'll give you a call tomorrow and I'll tell you when to come back. I'm like, okay. So right after that, dude, I got a train ticket and I was on my way to Philly. Got a taxi right to the train station in Fayetteville and met my mom at 30th Street Station in Philly, and I was home. That was cool.
That's saves a big expense too, flying back to Germany then back to Philly. So good
Yeah,
on that's a good squad leader right there. Whereas he could have very easily said, no, you got to come sign back in and put in leave and all
yeah.
this other bullshit. And they go,
The
nah,
best,
don't worry about it.
the best dudes that understood and were 100% behind me in everything I did after seeing how bad I got. Because I was like the shining star of that unit too, because of the boxing thing. Like I'm in the newspaper across the army. Like this guy from this unit is representing you, and you want to shaft him?
Yeah, you get a lot of leeway when you're impressive in the regular army too. You kind of, hey, I want to put in a pass. Yeah, go do whatever you want, as long as you're not being,
Yeah,
because there's so many people, and a lot of people don't understand this about the regular army. There's a lot of fuck ups in the regular army too, and they're causing a lot of problems for the people in charge. So if you're not causing a problem and you're putting out a good light for your unit and so generally, not always, but generally, you're going to be left to your own devices because
yeah,
there's so many people just fucking the army up in every way they can,
100%.
whether it's beating their children or their wives or selling army equipment on Craigslist and getting caught for that. I could
Yeah,
literally we could fill the rest of the show with all of the stupid shit
yeah, with
that soldiers
yeah,
do to ruin their lives. But
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like your command spends 90% of the time, 90% of the time on 10% of the people.
Yeah.
I think that's the saying.
Yeah, it's 80-20, 90-10, or something like that.
Yeah,
But
somewhere around
like
there.
the return from from selection part, I forget who it was, but one of the previous guests. I don't think the episode's come out yet. He gets selected and takes it upon himself to take 3 days off or 3 days leave, right? And his bags got lost, so he used that as his story when he got back to his unit. And Sergeant Major goes, "Oh, what happened?" "Oh, Sergeant Major, my bags got lost." He goes, "Okay, have you seen so and so?" And he goes, "Well, I haven't seen him since he didn't or he quit week one." He goes, "Hmm," and he walks off and he figures out what that was. Well, the dude fucking goes AWOL for like a month. So this dude's fucking up more than he it should. He's become a spotlight. So he got away with his little 3 day excursion off after selection because somebody else was fucking up worse. There's somebody always fucking up worse than you in the Army
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
Oh, well, whatever. Fuck them. As long as you don't get in trouble or lose your tab, right?
yeah,
Um, but you said you were a Bravo. Did you get to pick after selection your MOS and language, or did they just give it to you?
yeah. You did the you get your dream sheet of that's what they used to call it, and you pick what MOS you want and and what group you want to go to. Like I wanted to be a Charlie because I was like I want to blow stuff up. I want to be a Charlie. And I put Charlie, Bravo, Delta, Echo. Like I had no interest in communications until I got further down the line and actually got into the tech side. And but I wanted to be a Charlie. They gave me Bravo, and I'm so happy that that I became a Bravo because once I saw all the math and the building and all the construction stuff that the Charlies did, I was like, praise Jesus,
Mm.
and like really, I'm just playing with guns all day. Like it was pretty awesome. So I was happy that I got Bravo.
And Bravo,
I had a really good time, man.
Bravo is a weapons sergeant. Charlie is an engineer sergeant, so demolitions and construction, and yes, quite a bit of math. Delta is the medic, and Echoes are the communications guys, supposedly the techies on the team.
Mhm.
Even though oftentimes the other guys, they're different MOSs, or some more tech nerds than the Echoes are. So it's always there's different skills coming from doing. I think more about it after doing this show more. I think I fucked up being a Charlie because I didn't learn anything. Um, I had everything I needed to pass the Charlie course before I got there, and it was
Yeah,
just putting it together. The math wasn't hard. The construction, I was the class leader. Nothing. There was no point in the Charlie course where I was like, I don't think I'm going to pass. It was all yeah, everything. And then now I'm out, and I go, I wish I would have learned something.
yeah, and like at least on the Bravo side, like I know, like they went through all the guns, everything, how to mount everything. Like when you show up to the team, like yeah, you might be the new Bravo, but you can diagnose and repair and troubleshoot, almost any weapon system on the planet. So it's like you get the skills, and then the mortars and stuff. Yeah, we had to do a little math with mortars, and but you're pretty well trained up about after 3.5 months of doing that. It's pretty you're pretty well trained. Like you're
Yeah.
not going to get it anywhere else in the world.
They throw a tremendous amount of information at you guys in a short amount of time, and then you got to do it to
Uh,
standard and things like that. So, but no, it's good. Any point in the Q course where you thought, I don't know if I'm going to make it here, or you have it pretty well down?
Probably small unit tactics, which I think is like called tac skills now. Just because I didn't know anything about it, like basic infantry stuff and patrolling, but luckily, so another thing people don't understand about the 18 X-ray program, is those guys are 11 Bravos. Like they go to infantry school. So they're 11 Bravos. They get everything from the schoolhouse and then boom, and whatever their pathway. And then maybe a couple months down the line, they're in selection. So I had a couple X-rays on my team, and every dude that was on my uh, small unit tactics team was he came from like infantry, mechanized infantry, or cavalry scouts. I learned, and I had one guy from Ranger Battalion who like he knew everything. He was a stud. Um, and I learned a lot from them. Like I wouldn't say they carried me, maybe a little bit, but they uh I learned a ton from them. And that was probably what saved me. Like if I would have been on uh because you got your cadre and he's putting the information out and you're like drinking from a fire hose, especially me not knowing that stuff. And but them, people, guys, on my team that were kind of walking me through it, like as I was doing it, like, being like, alpha team leader, like, hey, sometimes when you're the alpha team leader, you should have a point man and you should have the compass and, learning that. And like that little stuff, like you don't always have to be the point man is you don't always have to have the compass. You can have somebody, learning those little things like speed of security and how to move up and doing your leaders recon and all that. And I know I'm throwing buzzwords out there, but how to actually do the stuff, and when should I put my security out, and like, and they really helped me because they knew that stuff. And but that was a point where I was like, my first, because I failed my first grade of patrol. Uh, and I think I was the Bravo team leader, and I failed that one. I was a no go, but I passed my second one, and I passed my second patrol as the Alpha team leader and got my go. So I got my go, and once I got my go, it was like, just please make me Bravo right rifleman, and just nobody talk to
Oh
me
yeah,
because I'm like
back of the
so
bus, man.
ecstatic
I just
right
want to
now.
hang out
Like
back
for
there and
be,
do nothing.
yeah, give me the saw and point me in a direction. Like so happy I made it.
Yeah, I know what you mean there. And now that you were talking, I realized something about SUT because I didn't like SUT, but I came from field artillery, and the most experience I had prior to getting to the course was an infantry staff sergeant and a prior Ranger Battalion infantry guy yelling at each other in the field about different ways of teaching something. So we didn't learn shit. That or some sergeant's time training or something like that. But my SUT lane, aside from the one staff sergeant that got dropped, all three officers were infantry officers. I think all three had Ranger tabs, and then a bunch of X-rays, and then it's just kind of me coming from over here, and I, I got one shot as Bravo team leader, and Alpha team and the squad leader fucked it all up. But I'm sitting back on the rucks at the ORP up the hill eating a chili MRE, watching them just fucking shoot the 240 down the line, and he kills the whole team. And I'm just going, ah, man, that looks like it sucks down there. And I got to go. And they both got dropped. And that was it. I got to hang out in the back of Bravo
Yeah,
team for the rest of SUT. And I don't want to say do nothing, but I don't remember doing anything, other than sucking.
yeah. And then you got it head count them back in. Like, okay,
Yeah,
you're
count
taking
count him
20. Yeah,
back in. Well, the thing was so fucked up. The operation was so fucked up. He called me. He's like, "Fucking come down here." And he's like, first off, he goes to the leadership team, and I knew exactly where we were, but those two idiots. I think that's maybe why I got my go is because I picked up a piece of pine straw and said, "No, we're right here," and they're pointing fucking over here, and that's what happened. They killed themselves, and he goes, and then he goes back to shitting these two out, and yeah, I didn't have to do anything. Like the whole thing after he killed everybody, I didn't have to do that counting back in or ever. They got fired. They put a new team in charge, and that was it. So
wow.
it was bad. It was bad. But I'm just sitting, seriously, just sitting on the rocks, making sure the hillbillies don't steal them, eating a chili MRE, just kind of laughing, going, no, there's nothing I can do from up here,
Yeah.
For people at home, uh, if this were real world, you wouldn't leave a guy with the gear,
Yeah.
you'd assault force and then you'd come back, grab your stuff and roll out. If you left the gear unattended in North Carolina, these people, and I don't know where the fuck they come from, they come like hills have eyes people would just like rise up out of the sand, steal your gear and disappear. They'll
Oh
steal
yeah.
all your
We
shit.
we were exfil in one, and it was a daytime when we were just practicing ambushes. Because you have your lanes, and it's like, okay, we're gonna go out and practice. And this was like, I think we were like just on the other side of the McCall Army Airfield, and we're just like out in the woods, and we got our blanks, and we finish uh our ambush, and we come back to the release point where Bravo team leader is. We ruck up. We move back about another 100 meters into the woods, and Kadri's like, all right, index, and sit there, and we talk about what we did, and these people come up in a truck, and they stop on the road, and it's hillbillies, rednecks, whatever you want to use. It's like just guys that just don't look like they should be there, right? And one of the guys like, who are those guys? And he's like, that's just, he like knew the person's name. He's like, yeah, after every ambush, they come out and they pick up our brass for us. Like, okay, little I know that they're like picking up the brass and links and they're selling it and getting paid for it. Like, that's what they're doing. Like, they're out there. And if you leave that stuff unsecured, they'll get it.
Yeah, there was stories or rumors of them stealing weapons unattended and shit like that. I even talked to one of the um, cad. He was a cadre back before our time, and on both sides, on the green suitor side and on the civilian side. And if they lost something like a sensitive item, they'd go, "Hey, send the police to so and so's house because he's probably got it." Because the dude would sweep the drop zones
Yeah.
after every jump, and he would find everything. And if the cops didn't come looking for something, he'd get to keep it. But if they did, oh, he'd have to give it up because he didn't want to go to fucking federal prison for
Yeah.
stealing from the military and shit like that. But yeah, that's a real thing, and
Yeah. That's the thing.
is you lose something in training, those people are gonna, and they're not listening to my show, but so whatever, they'll just crawl
We
up
all
out of
know
the
they're out
sand.
there.
We know though they're out there, that they're Jeepers Creepers folks or Hills Have Eyes
Yeah.
or whatever fucking people you want to fucking associate
Yeah.
them with. But
What did the Marines say? Gear adrift is a gift.
yeah, that's I would yeah. But everybody's stealing in the military. Everybody's stealing shit in the military. If you left
Yeah.
that supply closet unattended, I'm stealing notebooks and pens and all kinds of shit out of there, and
Yeah.
sensitive
It's
items,
like,
because I got shit missing from my unit too.
yeah, there's only one thief in the army, right?
No, it was me. It was definitely that was me. Um, so there might be two because there's somebody else, but I was definitely taking stuff too. I was
Yeah.
reallocating it for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Strategically transferring equipment to alternate locations. Steal.
I okay, and
Acronym.
this is all right, whoever's listening here, whatever. I viewed it as if I didn't get to it first, somebody else was going to get to it after
Yeah.
me. So I definitely got there first. If that makes sense to a lot of people listening. So we go through, what language did you get? I assume
Spanish.
Spanish. Yeah. Okay. So we get the old Red Empire, and at that time, you're still at Bragg, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Seventh group was still at Bragg.
So you graduate and you get your beret, think you're on top of the world. So you're riding another high, right? You get that,
Oh, that got
and
crushed real quick.
you're ready. So you're riding a high in boxing, and then you go to the course and you get crushed, and you build yourself back up, and you're riding a high again. And now you sign into seventh group, and as you said, crushed.
Hang on, didn't even get there yet, right? So it's literally graduation, and like family comes and everything, and then we have a formation. We get our orders, right? Because go down, it's like the Coliseum or the theater, the Cape Fear Theater down by the stadium. And we go in there, we had a big graduation, and I'm in my greens and go back, and it's like, my parents are there and everything, and everybody's happy. And then next day we show up, or it might have been a couple days later. My parents go back home to Philadelphia, and we still got some out processing to do, some equipment to turn in, and everything, and get our orders. And it was like before we got our orders, it's like, hey, who's going to third group? You know, and a couple guys, like, third group. Who's going to seventh group? It's like, oh, I'm going to seventh group. Who has a PCS date or a report date of whatever? And then like some guys from first group, he's like, all right, come on over here. And like it's about 12 or 15 of us that were there for that formation. He's like, all right, you guys are going to be op four for SUT for the next 2 weeks. And we're like, what? So yeah, had to do that. Like literally just got my beret like a week ago, my tab, and promoted to sergeant. Like a lot of stuff happening to me, you know, and riding that high. And they're like, hey, you're gonna go do op four for SUT. And went out there, did that, actually had a blast doing it. So it was, but it just kind of sucked. It's like you know, you're like, really? Like, come on, man. And actually wound up being a good time though. It was like two
I
weeks
would,
in the woods. We had hot days and got to eat at the Camp McCall Chow Hall every day, like which is the best chow hall in the world. And yeah, so that was interesting.
there's always a tasking that comes out after graduation. Like
Right.
uh, mine was I had to go sit on a trailer in the Veterans Day parade because we graduated at the end of the year, end of October, and the Veterans Day parade came up. So I got lucky because I was like, yeah, they don't tell you. They don't tell you what the tasking is. I just raised my hand. Everybody that didn't raise their hand had to go out and be point sitters for land nav, and it pissed raining for 4 days on them, and mine was over in 45 minutes or whatever, however long a parade takes.
Yeah.
That was my tasking I had to do, so I got off easy. But the rest of the class, they were pissed because they had to go out and point centers. I was like, if I know anything from the regular army, you want to volunteer first. You don't want the other one. You don't want the second one
Right.
because they're gonna.
Yeah.
It's a loaded question. Is hey, I
Yeah.
need to, because the second tasking is not what you want to do. But
Yeah.
um, I was talking to somebody a couple weeks ago, and similar thing, but they had to go be instructors for 6 months. They right out of the course, instead of going to their unit, they got
I
reassigned to
heard
be
that.
instructors.
That's
That was, I think,
hard
one
stories.
year or 2 years after you.
Yeah, I've
So
heard that horror story, and it didn't happen to anybody that I went through with, but I've heard like stories, like especially guys in the when I got to 20th group, that was when I first started hearing those stories and about that, and it was like from guys that were on active duty, and like that was like, yeah, it's like how much can you take before you know you're like, all right, I'm done with this, like I'm not getting out of it what I'm putting into it. And like some of them were like, yeah, that happened to me right out of the Q course, and that was my first like, okay, strike one SF regiment, you know. And kind of, you know, I got lucky. Like my strike one was having 2 fun weeks out in the field with my friends, and I didn't have anywhere to go until, you know, for like another 2 months. So
yeah,
yeah,
because you have big
it's a pretty good.
expectations. You have big
Yeah,
expectations coming out of the course, right? And you want to
right.
get after it. And yeah, it's interesting you phrase it that way because strike one against the regiment. If And regiment doesn't owe us anything, and the guys that are in, they don't owe us anything either. They actually don't like us because we're the new guy and we're trying to come in and do their job, and we're going to take over for them. And they're starting to realize, the senior guys are starting to realize that it's going to end at that point. So that creeps into your mind as well. So there's a lot of
Yeah,
factors going on there with the next generation coming in, and other guys being forced out. But yeah, guys get to group and have a bad experience, and they get a bad taste in their mouth, and it seems like they have another one, and then they have another one, and then they'll just get out, and they don't see what lies ahead of them with, because if you do one contract in SF, you don't learn fucking anything. You
yeah,
barely get to E7, and then you get out, and that's it. You don't get to go to the B team or go on these different rotations. You might have done a couple deployments, but Experiences may vary, but you don't learn
Yeah,
about the other side
100%.
of things, and
Yeah,
you miss out on a lot of things because, like, I went to a bad team, and very good friend of mine, episode one, Colin, he went to the same team. He did his one stint and got out. He went to a good team after that, but he's like, this isn't for me. I went to a bad team. It almost killed me, and now I'm retired because of it. But that team, I can get. I'm working on getting the other people from that team on here to talk about it, like because
yeah,
that's such a shitty thing. I had a bad team sergeant and a brand new team leader, and bad decisions were made, and it fucked things up, and that happens. And like you said, guys will get out of the course and they'll go, "Fuck," I don't want to get. And if they came from the regular army, they were getting fucked by the regular army, and they wanted out of there. And their first step in SF is to get fucked by SF doing shit they
right.
don't want to do, and
Yeah,
that'll
you
go
got to re
every.
up before you leave the Q course. You're like, you ain't going until you re up. You ain't getting your
Yep,
tab, you ain't getting beret until you re up. So,
yep. Sign the line, and then they'll get to group, and high performers will realize that group is what they thought. They thought Delta is going to be what group is, and it's not.
yeah,
And then they realize that they're going to have to sacrifice even more to get what they want, and that's pretty disheartening. So it's all a big, I'm
yeah,
striving for this next thing, and it's a kind of a successful disappointment, as I say.
yeah. So, I mean, so yeah, I get the group. Like, man, that was a whole other conversation getting to where I got the group. So I got the group. Seventh group is still on Bragg at the time, and I got what I wanted out of SF and more. Uh, it did me a solid, and so I always feel like I owe. You never stop owing. So I won't. Some good stuff and there's some bad stuff, but you won't hear too much of the bad stuff come out of my mouth because I enjoyed my time. I had a good time, and I got the group. I was on the B team for probably the first 6 months, and just because there was a bunch of us that came out of the Q course and they weren't really sure what to do with us, and because most of the teams were full, and I got assigned to 783, which is now 7323. Yeah, I was on a three-number team when I came in, and the so on that team there was one, two, three, four, five other guys on that team that I went to the Q course with. Like we all just graduated, so it was like new, like trying to figure out, like I guess because that company had just came back from Afghanistan, maybe a couple months before, and and it's people come back from the rotation and they're going to start going to do other things. They're going to go to the Fox course. They're going to, hey, we got to move this guy to battalion. This guy's going over to this company. They need this, or this guy wants to go to CAG selection. This guy's going to the CRIF. This guy's going warrant, and people just go everywhere. And I didn't quite understand that till I got further down the line and how that works, and moving on to different positions. So we had a fairly new team when I got there. So like the team leader, like I was in my senior Bravo, I was in the weapons sergeant course with, and the only reason he got the group before me was because he already spoke Spanish. And so he didn't have to go to language school. And same thing. One of I think uh, the Echo and the Charlie, I was out at SUT with at the same time, and like yeah, it was a fairly new team, and so that was pretty interesting. And then my team sergeant had come from third group, um, so I didn't really know much. I didn't know the differences between the groups then, like personality wise. But when I came out further, down the line, and like I wound up doing, did my last stint on a team in third group, and it was like the attitude of third group, and I was like, man, my team sergeant was nothing like what they say third group is. I guess he was the anomaly, but he was a super chill, good, great guy. He's doing a lot of great stuff right now, giving back to the regiment, like taking veterans on like fishing trips and snow and skiing trips and stuff. Like rad dude, and but like I didn't, he was good, and So get the group and they like ask you like, oh, what do you want to do while you're here in group? I'm like, they asked me if I wanted to go to Ranger School, and I was like, nope, I do not. Like I just spent a year and a half in training. Like I'm good. I don't want to go to like I want to work. I want to learn this job. I want to do good. And they're like, all right, well, what school do you want? I was like, what school does everybody want to go to? I want to go to free fall school. I want to go to
Obviously.
free fall school. Everybody wants to go to free fall school. And they're like, yeah, probably not going to happen. I was like, all right, well, how about sniper school? And they're like, yeah, we'll see. So I didn't get any schools until after, or no, I went to one weird one. It was like an advanced, it was called apprehension avoidance. And you got uh, some BMO stuff, basic method of entry, a little bit of advanced method of entry. And it was kind of like if you get captured, like how to break out, like the zip breaking the zip ties and the duct tape, and learning about how to get out of the trunk of a vehicle, stuff, wild stuff like that. And it was cool though, but that was the only school I got. And then I got lucky and went to a marksmanship course at Blackwater, and I went there for like 2 weeks, but I didn't get like an actual like army accredited school until maybe a year and a half after I got the group, somewhere around there. Yeah, because I signed in May, and then I went to Sodic July of 2008. Or should I say failed Sodic, because I didn't pass. I failed the field shoot. I'm not going to be like, yeah, I'm the greatest sniper ever. Like, no, I failed. So only school I wanted, and I failed it. But it was tough, man. I'm not gonna lie. And I was like, all right, maybe this ain't for me. I went back later on down the line and went to Sodic level 2, and I got that one under my belt. But I never had the opportunity to go back and do the level 1 course. So
Mm. It's all op tempo, right? And you said your team has been coming back from a rotation, and then I assume they got SWIC levied because you lost a bunch of people, and then so you get new guys on a team. So
and,
you
and
only get
guys
so
are going
much
to want
time.
to, yeah. And guys are going to want to move on and go and do other things. Like I didn't think that. I thought it was like, oh, we're an SF team and we're going to be best friends forever and nobody's leaving, and it's not the case. Like, and I didn't understand it. I'm like, where are you going? Like, oh, I'm going over here to go do this. And I'm like, why? And they're like, because that's what I want to do. And I'm like, you don't want to stay here with me,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah, there's people
you
going
know,
back and forth to different places all the time, whether they're going to be instructors or they're going to a school or they're, well, you guys, for us, it's just we have a forward battalion and so does 10th, but 7th, everybody's there but you guys are constantly, it's South America or you're back at base, just
right.
back and forth
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing a trip every 3 months or 6 months.
We did one, at least when I was there, I was in seventh group for about 4 years, and
Yeah.
I did 3 trips.
Okay.
I did two. I did an 8 monther. Well, it would have been 2 8 monthers, but I was my second. That would have been an 8 monther. I was busy failing sniper school, and
Hmm.
the and then went and did a 6 monther down in Guatemala, which I only stayed for 3 months because I got out and switched over to the National Guard when the word came down that seventh group was moving to Florida.
You
So
want to go down to Eglin?
nah, me and my wife actually went down there and did our own. I took like like 7 or 8 days of leave, something like that. Me and my wife did like a pre-deployment site survey of Eglin and the surrounding area, and we were like, I was like, hey, like if I stay in, this is where we're gonna live, and she was like, nope. I was like, I wasn't impressed either. I was like, nah, I don't like it down here. I'm good, and I wound up switching out.
Florida's a different place, man. It's definitely not North Carolina.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's you get away from Fort Bragg at least, and away from the flagpole, and things probably chilled out quite a bit once they got down there as well. Because I know, fifth
So I
group was
hear.
excited when they left Fort Bragg, and then seventh was excited, and third's still right next to command and control element there.
Yeah, and that's why the third group is just they're all still angry.
There is something to that, right? The farther you get from Fort Bragg, the more things chill out, and that's really true because you get out to first and tenth, and I don't know, the more guys I encounter from first and tenth, they're pretty chill compared to third and fifth. But if anybody wants to correct me, lesser known operators at gmail.com, send me your hate mail. I don't care. Um, but so you switch over to 20th, and for everybody listening, 20th, there are two National Guard groups that I have no idea what they do, what their responsibility is. I don't know how they all cover because they're all over the United States. 19th and 20th group, one's out of Utah and one's out of Alabama or something like that, or
Yeah.
Mississippi. Yeah,
Yeah, group headquarters is in Alabama.
and their companies are all over the rest of the United States, and you don't have to live anywhere near where your company is. Like I got a guy who lives up here the street in Milwaukee, and his unit's in Colorado, so he flies back and forth because he's got a job here. So, what is so life in seventh is one way. It's fast paced. You're going all kinds of places and schools, and nothing for family life, and you're sacrificing. What was the switch over into National Guard life like for you?
So one switching over to the National Guard, right? That active duty paycheck stops. So uh, I had to go get a regular job, pay the bills and all that stuff. And I was working. I went back into my and this was kind of how I got back into my art and making stickers and signs and stuff. As you can see, all this crap behind me. And so I went to work for a guy named Mark Wilson over at Pro Sport Graphics, and I was doing stickers and printing T-shirts for him, and learned a lot there. And but then like I didn't have like a break in service, so it was like I think it was like February 7th, 2011. I got off active duty February 8th, 2011. I was in the North Carolina National Guard, assigned to Bravo Company, 3rd Battalion, 20th Group up in Roanoke Rapids, which was it was a change, but I mean it was an awesome unit. I had a blast while I was there, and but the different it's a slower pace because it actually made you didn't get the daily grind of Army life, so a lot of the stuff you would do day to day activities in on active duty you weren't doing when you got to drill weekend, so you're like 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. And if you needed money they could put you, if you're like, hey, I'm hurting for money, and they'll be like, all right, we'll see what we can find for you. They always got orders for something. And there's always they need a body to fill something. Like there's guys that do, I'm sure you remember when you were going through the Q course, or guys on what they call ADOS or co-ADOS orders, and they're just on assignment to brag for like a year as a I don't know, whatever, at pack clerk at in processing people out at McCall, or their cadre somewhere doing something. There's always a job somewhere, and for to put somebody on orders. So you could always jump on orders if you needed it, and but it was definitely slower. I mean, the cool thing was though, it was like we always knew what we were doing, what we were going to be doing that weekend when we came in, and so that made it a little bit easier. Like it was already scheduled. Like, okay, we're jumping in. We know, like in March during our drill weekend, we're jumping in the truck and we're going up to Fort Pickett. I don't think it's called Fort Pickett. They changed that name. I can't remember, but that's what it used to be called. Go up there. We're going up there. We're doing land nav. Like, cool. We go out, or hey, we got to jump this weekend. And we would still jump. Like, we're on a Black 70Z. We're going to go jump. And it was like, you always knew, but it was like, boom, 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 boom. Okay, high five, pew, and then you're back home and back to your civilian job. So, or they would always have, and the cool thing was they would always have ammo, and there was like ranges around us, so you could always flat range whenever you wanted. That was a good thing because usually the your active guys, your AGR staff, have a good working relationship with people in the area because they live there. And first thing you want to do, and I learned this because I wound up becoming an active guardsman later on down the line, is that you want to get in good with the police in your area, and because they have access to all the ranges and stuff, and that's kind of how that worked, and we would be able to use their ranges and go shoot on their flat range like whenever we wanted. So we didn't have to call range control and go hot. It's like, yeah, sure, just show up, man. Like, okay,
Yeah, there's no risk assessments or anything on the civilian side. It's like, go shoot, don't blow your hand off. And
yeah,
if you do, go take yourself to the hospital, but don't call me.
yeah,
Completely different world. Did you feel like you made the right decision when that paycheck shut off, or
yep, and yeah. So I made the right call, and but I wound up uh contracting a little bit. I'm not overseas. Like I like the ones I did were stateside. So I contracted a little bit as well to pull in some extra money. And then I think it was 2012, or was it 11? I think it was 12. 2012. I wound up going to like 8 schools in 1 year, and it was awesome. I got super qualified relatively quickly, and on a lot of stuff. And that was my second taste. Of tech went to another technical surveillance course, so I got another taste for that, and which was cool. And so yeah, got SODIC level 2, did a cephalic, went to another marksmanship course, did a couple new equipment trainings, went to I don't know what they call it now, ASO level 2. Did that. Like I went to it like back to back, and that was like okay, like like I didn't get a lot of schools or anything when I was on active duty, but like now it's like, hey, there's all these groups and everybody's going and deploying like Afghanistan, blah blah blah. We're going to do that and fight these wars. It's like, well, TRADOC and the Army and a regiment as a whole still has slots to fill for these schools, or if you don't fill those schools, they don't get the money. And it's like, okay, so that if you're in the guard and they're like, hey, I got this school available, you go volunteering for things.
yeah,
uh, so yeah, so that was good. I was like, yeah, all right. Now I feel like after doing the trips to Afghanistan and Guatemala and doing all that good work for the regiment, like now I'm getting a little payback. So I'm getting a little bit of what I wanted, right? So I got my training, and then so that was good. And I didn't do any. I don't think I did any deployments when I was in B320 or like any J sets or anything. So I was only there for. I was only in that unit for about what, like a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and
yeah.
and then I wound up switching out to I B120 was moving from Alabama up to Albemarle, North Carolina. So they moved up and they needed a training NCO. I went through like the actual application process and applied for it, and I got the job as a training NCO. And that was an eye-opening experience, and I got really, really good at admin stuff because I had to do all everybody's schools. schools request training, land and ammo. Like if they wanted to go do, like if you wanted, they can't shoot mortars at the civilian police range, right? You got to go to Bragg for that.
Oh no,
And
come on.
so like I started learning a lot about like different range controls and range facility management system. Like somebody's like, hey, we want to do this specific thing, but we can only do it here. Uh, just started learning a lot of administrative stuff and how like a unit functions. And then it's like kind of the, like, cause when you're just a young newly minute, it's like, it's all about me, and it's all about what I want. Right. And then as you progress a little bit, you actually get put in one of these staff functions and, now it's like, now you like, oh, and you're trying to do everything for everybody and get them where they need to go. And I felt like I owed it to them because it was done for me. And so I felt really good about that job and getting people in the schools and laying on the trainer if they said that, because you got to think like it's the guard. They're not there all the time coming in beating me up about it. So everything's done like through email or a phone call. And I'm just writing all this stuff down like, yeah, man, I'll have it ready for you by drill if this is what you want to do. And then I remember one, which is a cool one. They did a cache burial, like burial and recovery out in Uwharrie National Forest. So I go down and talk, and I got this plan. They give me this whole training packet, right? And like, hey, here's what we want to do. And like, I go down, and I talk to the ranger, and I was like, hey, they want to do this. This is what they want to do. And guy says like, well, they can't bury it there. And I'm like, why not? He says those are like protected wetlands for uh, some wildlife. I forget exactly the term. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, well, where can they, bury it? Like, I didn't know anything about environmental stuff. Like, as far like I knew like aren't like don't mess with the red, the cockaded
Don't
woodpeckers.
don't mess with the red-cocketed woodpeckers. Oh my god,
And
you're going right to
there's
federal fucking prison.
there's the butterflies that eat when they're migrating. Don't mess with the butterflies. And what was the other? There was like a certain plant. Oh, this is an endangered plant. And I'm like, uh,
Who fucking
not looking
cares?
for a plant, man. But yeah, like I didn't know about that, like the marshlands and the wetlands and stuff, and you can't dig because they're protected. And so brought it back to the team and kind of was like, hey, you can bury it here. And they're like, oh, that's perfect. Hey, see if they can if we can do Zodiac training there too. I'm like, okay. So asked the rain, hey, can they do Zodiac? So then it was now it become now they gotta go to the dive locker down in Alabama, bring a Zodiac up, and then they did it. And it was like learning all that. Like they're gonna come in on the river, they're gonna get off, they're gonna bury this uh cachet here after they got, and that, it wound up being like a really good training exercise. Just one thing led to another, but doing the administrative and the backside support for it was like where I kind of learned like what, like when I was on a team and a young guy coming up, like what actually went into making what I was doing happen. But now I'm making it happen for somebody else. So that was a very good experience for me to learn
Yeah,
that kind of
I've
stuff.
said it many times on the show, right? That when you're on a team, you only know how the team works, and then you go to the B team, and the B team's whole role is to support the other six teams. But guys on a team look down on the B team, but they're the ones doing all the work that the teams don't want to do to support
Yeah.
training or working with battalion or these other things or whatever. All admin shit, usually all admin, or not directly training, but supporting training and shit like that. So you don't really
Right.
know how the company works or battalion works in with that until you go to a support role from a team. Because you're right, when you're on the team, it's all like me, our little circle,
Yeah.
and then you realize, oh fuck, I don't know how to
Yeah.
interact with the rest of the folks, and you got to learn that role. And everything is, as soon as you get off a team, it's all
Yeah.
admin, so much paperwork, so many emails,
And I
coordinating,
learned,
talking with
and then
people.
like on the Bravo side of the house, where from going to that training NCO position, like actually, like I knew that there's a finite level of ammunition that's out there for people to get, but I didn't know that like USASOC would allocate the ammo down to the groups to how the pot and like how the breakdown went, like all the way down to the team. And I didn't learn about the ammo pack and cost sheet until I had to actually do like a Title 10 order for deployment. So like learning the difference between Title 10, Title 32. Now I'm getting into U.S. codes and federal codes and having to look up that stuff. So not only like just like Army stuff, but also you're looking at like overarching federal and state regulations, what governs those pots of ammo and pots of money in order to get Junior Bravo on a team what he wants.
Yeah. And here's like a real world practical application for that, right? That people were quick to jump to a conclusion just recently in Western North Carolina, right? The huge disaster. I got to go work down there as part of the North Carolina emergency management effort. And I don't know if anybody heard, but like Title 10, United States military is not allowed legally to operate on US soil without fucking on high blessing from the president and the Department of Defense, right? You need
Right.
orders to do that. Everyone's like, oh, this disaster happened. The government's not doing anything. Well, the government doesn't work that fast. And the military doesn't work that way. We're ready to go kill people overseas at a moment's notice, but we're not ready to
Yeah.
save people at home. They're like, why isn't the 82nd here? Why isn't the 101st here? Well, because it doesn't work like that. And that's what it comes
Yeah.
down to, that Title 10 thing. You need blessing from God, basically, to be able to
Yeah.
or
So
to work within the
Title
borders of the United
32,
States.
and then the
Yeah.
Title 32 is the National Guard pot of money that activates them.
Yeah.
So
And it's all
that's
getting paid
and
for
like
by FEMA and shit.
yeah, and it's not like so for anybody the viewers that see this. So Title 10, right? That's like let's say a crisis happens, right, in the 82nd Airborne. We can be anywhere in the world in 18 hours, and it's like cool. Like crisis happens, they're ready to respond. They have their troops postured and ready to go. The National Guard doesn't. When they start making it's like, I got a call like on the whatever readiness NCO, and let's say for example you're in my unit. Hey man, we got this thing going on. We got a hurricane that just ravaged Western North Carolina. We kind of need you to come in to to help out with this. And you're be like, yeah, well, I'm up in DC right now and I work for the State Department, so I can't. All right. Next person down the line. Like you're looking at who's available and, you're trying to put together something. So, the state government can't work that fast. Like you think the federal government's slow. Like try to activate the National Guard for something. It's pretty tough to spin up and get, because they have they're citizen soldiers. They have other jobs. They might be police officers, firemen, and be like, yeah, I can come. I'm a fireman, but I ain't got nobody to cover for me, so I can't come in. Like get bent, and
Yeah.
they can do that.
Yeah,
And it's
it was it was crazy to see because I ran into I think three SF teams, one just administratively and then two in person where we were at, and this fifth group team wanted to go help, but they couldn't get them orders to go, so the whole team took leave. Commander signed off on their leave, and they got to go do SF recce shit in the woods in Northern Carolina, saving people, and they used all their own personal leave, and that's something you won't hear about in the fucking news, right?
yeah,
That's
which is rad. Shout
badass
out to
right
those
there.
dudes for doing that.
Fucking whole fifth group SF team all takes leave and then just goes. And for anybody listening, holy fuck, whatever you saw in the news was way fucking worse in person. So people going out to actually save people in a horrible, horrible situation.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see. And a lot of people came together, and yeah, all that shit you heard, oh, the government's not doing this, doing that, that is bullshit. There was a tremendous effort out there to
Yeah,
save
well,
people.
and you think, and then, oh, the government's not doing shit, and it's like it's dudes on leave. Like they
Yeah,
might work for the government, but they're on vacation right now, and they're
yeah,
spending their vacation time in the hills and the mountains of Western North Carolina helping people out.
that's fucking badass. Just
Yeah, that's
fucking
badass.
that's
That's
some
rad. Shout
SF
out to those
SF
dudes.
guy shit. And then what was
Our
even
cups for
cooler, yeah,
everyone.
fuck, our downgraded to a certificate of
Yeah,
achievement. But
certificate of
uh,
achievement.
what was even more badass was the network of prior G chiefs that started running camps up in the mountains again, just like Robin Sage, and running
Yeah,
emergency services through their camps and shit like that, just like they taught us in the Q course. So it was really
yeah,
cool to go see that and be part of it because all SF guys are born in North Carolina, right? And to go back
yeah,
there, and I'm from fucking Wisconsin, and they go, "Oh yeah, do you live in the area?" I was like, "Obviously, you can't hear my accent. I don't live here. I live in Wisconsin." And they're like, "Oh, that's so far." I was like, "No, I was just born down the road here at Fort Bragg, North Carolina." And they go, "It's called Fort Liberty." And I said, "Shut the fuck up." And now it's back to Fort Bragg again.
yeah,
So uh, just off on a tangent there about different types of orders and how the government works. Inefficiently,
yeah,
kids. The government works inefficiently.
yeah. Well, sometimes it works flawlessly, but
Yeah.
you know, um, like when it's time to war
Oh,
and the
I've
playbook
said
and
this
all
on the
that.
show. We are
Yeah,
very good at killing people. If somebody
yeah,
needs to be schwacked, we're on it.
yeah. I mean, that's when it's time to do that stuff, um, or even humanitarian aid. You can spin up humanitarian aid overseas pretty quickly. Here, you know, well, plus, I mean, we have a pretty good infrastructure. Like, oh, the government ain't doing nothing, and it's like, bro, you got cops and firefighters and EMS out there, and North Carolina wildlife, like, during those types, like they're out, they're trying. Do they need a little bit of extra support? Sure, but it's pretty tough to spin up, Chinooks and everything to go. Oh, these people need water. It's like they're not ready. Like my guy that I want to activate on to put on active duty is already a fireman and he's already out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were people like that too that got called back from the regular job to go get called up to the National Guard. But yeah, last thing I'll say on that was some of the people that I worked for. After a few weeks, I brought up Katrina, and they said this is way worse than Katrina because we could do everything from a helicopter at Katrina, at least get to everything. You can't even see what you can't get to in the mountains there because it's all fucking washed away. They're like, oh, we're up against mountains here. Where at least in Katrina they could see all of the damage and get to it with a helicopter.
Yeah.
And whether
It
you
was
think that
flat.
was handled, yeah, it was flat. Whether you think that was handled correctly or not is not the issue here. But you try hiking up the mountains to fucking do anything, that fucking
Yeah.
blows.
Rough.
So you're all schooled up. You're starting to feel
Yeah.
like a qualified Green Beret now, right? And that does. More experience in group, you start feeling like, yeah, this is it. I'm finally getting to live the life. And you said you mentioned you got some technical schools. So obviously, did that draw the attention of some special units?
Yeah. So, um, I went, so when I was in B-120 in Albemarle, my house was 2.5 hours from my house in Fayetteville. So I would sleep at the armory, like I had my own bunk and everything. And we helped stand that unit up. So we were able to set the armory up however we wanted. So the B team during drill, we had our own like B team like bunkhouse, and the teams had team rooms and everything, and they could crash in there. And it was set up. That unit's nice, man, and that's probably the best unit I've ever been in. And I had the most fun there too. And so yeah, I got schooled up when I'm doing that at B-120 as a train SEO. A lot of good admin stuff, good trips. Uh, you get attached to a team like hey, we need a Bravo. Like, yeah, I'm here. I'm already on orders. You don't have to do much paperwork. I just cut the travel order and I go. And so I got to go, did a trip to Paraguay. Awesome place, man. Lomito Arabes for anybody watching this, man. I know where the spot is. Hit me up in Asuncion. And so got to do Paraguay. Did I think a couple days in the UAE. Did a joint training exercise in Qatar, which was cool. Got getting to work with other special operations from around the world in a training environment. Because I only worked with like during like wartime, I only worked with the commandos, the Afghan commandos. That was my extent of working with partner force, them and the Afghan National Police Force, which was weird. And but going to work with like and seeing how other special operations around the world work was pretty cool to see that like their capabilities and limitations as well as ours, and learning those like what a J set should be. Like you're learning from them and they're learning from you. And so that was a good experience during that time there. And then I was kind of getting burned out because I had been living away from my wife and son like 3-4 days a week for almost 2 years straight. And I was like, all right, I got to figure out a way to get back home, because my wife didn't want to move out to near Charlotte or Western North Carolina. I didn't really want to either. I was happy in Fayetteville, and I was trying to find a road back to Bragg. And so I had the tech surveillance stuff under my belt. And but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try and go full ham and go be an operator at the special mission unit on Fort Bragg. And so I went and went to the assessment. I didn't make it, and they asked about my technical stuff. They because they look at your record and they're like, would you be interested in coming back? And I was like, I don't really know. And they actually NTR'd me from the assessment because I guess in the interview they thought that I didn't want to come back to active duty for whatever reason. And that was weird. That's what was said, and I know. Say what you want. That's what was said in the interview, and that was a mind fuck to me. So came back home with my tail between my legs, and then about 6-7 months later, I came back around again to do the recruiting thing. Sat down, watched a video, and was like, "Hey, I kind of would like to apply for a direct support position, and for the tech surveillance stuff." And I already had, a couple of the schools and the qualifications. And I went to their assessment, got picked up, and then next thing you know, I'm in the unit, and then I went to the full blown. I don't think it's that way anymore. The full blown SF technical surveillance course, which was like really good. That was a blast. That was a lot of fun. Learned a lot of stuff. But even though it's when you get into kind of that technical aspect of thing, especially if it's a schoolhouse, like you are scratching the surface of what you can do. Like I'm learning, like ripping cars apart, learning about, and if you want, like a lot of this stuff is like is public information. That's what I'm saying. It's classified, and a lot of stuff that we were learning how to hide things comes from like border patrol and narcotics police officers that you would like push a couple buttons in a car. Next thing you know, the spot where the airbag is lifts up, and like they'll go in there and like next thing you know, there's like a kilo of coke in there, and you'll see it on like Dateline NBC and how they found it and all this stuff. So it's not like anything out there is classified in that respect. Now on the technical side, I won't get into that. But so I went around and did that for about a year and a half, and just I kind of burnt myself out over there, and just and then I made the decision to go back to third group. And I was leaving, they're like, "Where do you want to go?" I was like, I just want to go to third group, and I went back and served the rest of my time as a Bravo on ODA 3322. And I had to transition from Spanish to French.
That sounds terrible. Because those don't. What was the level of professionalism in the unit as compared to group?
I would say, I mean, it was professional. Like everybody was definitely there to do their job, but there were some assholes, and so that's one of the. I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky guy. I'm pretty tough to piss off, and like I found myself a little more angry than I was happy there. So That's just, it is what it is. Nothing against those dudes over there. They're very capable surgical unit and doing what they do. It just wasn't my cup of tea, and it's not for everyone. And what they say that stuff all the time. Like any interview you see with one of those guys over there, it's like we're not looking for the best guy, we're looking for the right guy. And I probably wasn't the right guy. Yeah, that's how I look at it. I was the right guy. I was the right fit for that place, and it is what it is. I didn't get kicked out. I left on my own accord. So
Hey, well, that's good too. I mean, some people do get kicked out and they wind up in SUT as punishment, or supposedly, or
yeah,
at least that's what that guy told us.
yeah,
But so what we're talking about here is, yeah, right job, Delta or SMU or whatever they were called, is a very particular unit that has a very particular mission set where Green Beret is very, very broad, right? From unconventional warfare all over the world in every different theater and things like that, to where it's a very, very finite set of skills in these different special missions units. So you could be very good at one thing in SF, but you're okay and you wouldn't fit in really well there. And comes with that is a different level of commitment and another sacrifice. It's a whole different lifestyle, pretty much, right?
yeah. Definitely, it is. And yeah, it's a lifestyle. But towards the end of, I would say I was getting on the tail end of my career, probably about, I don't know, 2018. Like I started seeing like the light at the end of the tunnel, and I started getting like my hobbies back, and my art, my skateboarding, and all that stuff. Like I was always dabbling as I was going through. So like, yeah, it was a lifestyle. I was like, bro, I'm a Green Beret. I'm a soldier. I'm Frank Miller. Billy Watt. Whoever, Benny Atkins. It's like that's who I want to be, right? And while you're in and you're a young pup coming through, yeah, you should be like that. Like, that's what you're supposed to be doing. And but as you get a little older, you gotta start seeing, okay, like it's time to, this is going to end, right? Like you were saying before, like I got like now I'm the old guy. Like on my last team, I was the oldest guy on the team, and I was like 37. Like I was older than my team sergeant. Like,
Yeah.
and it was funny. Hey, old man Clax here. I'm like, bro, I'm like 37 years old. Like, what do you mean, old man? you know,
First
and
off, shut the fuck up. Second off, go clean the shitter.
yeah,
Fucking
uh,
yeah,
but
that's a common theme, right? Because the age, over the years, even now with X-rays becoming more of the force, the age of SF has come down quite a bit. It was mid 30s, and now I think it's mid 20s or something like that,
yeah,
or mid to late 20s. So you've got guys making
33-year
master
old sergeant
sergeant.
majors running around.
That's extreme. I haven't heard of that. I was going to say
Yeah,
33-year-old master sergeants, which, you're first eligible to be promoted to E8, which is master sergeant, at 12 years in the Army, which isn't very long, uh, at all in the Army. You're still figuring shit out. That's fast. That is a fast
yeah.
track to master sergeant. But I had a guest on here. He unexpectedly made master sergeant. He didn't he just put his stuff in and then made it, and when all of a sudden he's a team sergeant, he goes, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Fuck. So that shit happens. So this people getting promoted early, whatever. But so this whole time you're pretty chill skateboarder man, right? That's the reason.
Yeah.
I mean, you're always liking my stuff, which I really appreciate. Thank you. And so I looked on your page. You're just fucking living your best life. I did all this cool shit in my that people would dream of, like as a career in the military. You did all this cool guy shit, and now you're just doing kick flips, and I don't know any more terms other than that. But you're just fucking riding skateboards in the community, hanging out and chilling, just like Tony Hawk back in the day, man. What is up with that? I love it,
Uh,
by the way.
yeah. So my two main things, like my two like loves, is skateboarding and boxing. So those are, uh, just that's just what I love to do, and like so you'll see we've got to get into some weirdness here. So you'll see like there's like this military industrial skateboarding complex that's around now where like
Oh,
everybody's like cool riding skateboards and stuff, and like you'll see like some art or something, be a guy in like his kit with a rifle and he's like doing a kickflip and it's like a sticker or something like that, and everybody's on the range wearing Vans, and now it's like cool. When I was, the era that I came from, it was like skate and destroy, like you're a rebel as a skateboarder, and then going into the army and we're like, you skateboard? Like even when I was in Germany, like, and I would, kick around and, go do my thing on the weekends and go skate whenever I wasn't getting in shape for a fight. Like I was skateboarding. There was like one other dude in my unit that skated at the time. And we would always try to get out and go somewhere and skate around Germany, which was a cool experience to go skate Germany. And so while I was in the Q course, I maybe skated a few times. And then when I got to my team, and my team sergeant was from California, and like meeting like guys from other different walks of life, like, yeah, I don't really skate anymore because I'm trying to do this career. I'm like, fuck that, I'm skating. And we had a mini ramp on our fire base in Afghanistan. So I skated my mini ramp in Afghanistan. So that was cool. I don't have any pictures of it though. So man, take more pictures, everyone. Take more pictures. Take pictures with the
uh,
homies.
yeah. If
And
if there's a subtext to this show, it's lesser known operators. And then in smaller print, it's take more pictures of your shit in uniform. Jesus Christ, fucking.
yeah,
I don't have any. I don't have any pictures of anything.
yeah. I mean, I've got a ton. Like as I got further down the line, I was like, all right, take. Especially once this thing came out,
Yeah.
and I was like all the time. And but yeah, I continued, skating, and then towards I want to say about 2018, and I think it was 20, or it might have been during COVID, I think, or no, 2019. 2019, I get hit up from this guy Chad, uh, owned Snake Farm. I don't know if you're familiar with that company, and but he we reached out, started talking. I was like, hey man, like I've been skating for a while. He's like, okay, send me some footage. I sent him some footage, and he was a JTAC, and it was a cool thing because like we happen to know some of the same people, and so he's like, hey, we're like, hey, I kind of want to ride for you, like what do I do? And he's like, just send me some footage, I'll send you some boards, and then that's kind of how sponsorship works in the skateboarding world. They send me a couple boards, I skate, I tag them, and help promote their stuff. So I was sponsored by Snake Farm for a little bit, and so I was riding for him, uh, and then Raid Skateboards started popping up on the scene. Raid SB is my dudes now, and switch out. I talked to Chad, and there was no love lost. I was like, hey man, they kind of align a little more with what I'm trying to do with skateboarding, and kind of who I am and what I represent, and gun skateboarding, Green Beret, whatever, all that, and he was like, yeah, sure. So I started riding for Raid Skateboards, and wound up. So prior to that, I want to say my buddy Chuck Jordan. There was in Fayetteville. I didn't realize that Fayetteville had such a huge skate scene until I met uh, was it Will Fleischman and Josh Wills, Lanil Tony. and my buddy Chuck Jordan put me onto that because there used to be a skate park called the Mill, and it was right across the street from Manor Church on Cliffdale Road. It was a small skate park. I went in there, met all those people, and I was like, it kind of took off from there. I was like, all right, now I have people to skate with, got phone numbers, all that stuff, and helped run that park like a little further down the line. And then Raid Skateboards, right? Snake Farm, Raid Skateboards, all that stuff comes about, and and uh, and yeah, dude, I'm just skating. Got sponsored. Then Until Death Collective comes along. Shout out to Ashley Vasquez. I start riding for her, doing the My Zone, the workout stuff, and all that. And yeah, I just love skateboarding, man. I'm just kind of rambling here about it. Like, there's
No,
not
you're
really.
good.
I just be skating, man.
What's it about skateboarding? When did you pick up the for the first time, and what's it about it that you like so much?
So I started skateboarding when I was about 14 years old, and it was kind of like everybody in the neighborhood was doing it. Like, we were all, rather than hanging out on a corner, hanging down at the park and just causing trouble for whatever reason, we all decided like we're going to skateboard. Like, one kid gets skateboard, and then next thing you know, the whole neighborhood's filled with skateboarders, and that lasted for about 3 years, and then there was only a couple, me and like maybe two of my friends from my neighborhood that stuck with skateboarding, and that was Sean McGinnis and Steve Connerton, both of whom I still skate with to this day. Like, I think I tagged you in it, like the one video where I'm inside the skate park. That's me and Sean. I've been skating with him since '94, and every time I go
Fucking
home on
back in the
like me
day.
and him, two peas in a pod, like we're skating, we're filming, and it's just something we do, and it's healthy, it's fun, it gives me an adrenaline rush, gives me my there's that aspect of it, and and conquering something, or getting better at something, not or like a certain trick, like, yeah, I can do this trick, but I'm not really that good at it, so I just want to make it look cleaner, and or doing something not necessarily big, but something if it's kind of a little inherent danger. Like, I've been injured a lot skateboarding, and there's an inherent danger in doing that where you conquer a fear. You're constantly
Yeah.
conquering fear, and you're just trying to get after it, learn more tricks, and put out good footage that I think people want to see, and like stuff that I like to see myself doing. Anybody that says I don't care what people think is lying, because I 100% care what people think when I'm on my skateboard and what footage that I put out.
Yeah, and what I think is so cool about it, right? Because most people hear skateboarding and they're going to associate it with that's for kids, right? And you're obviously not a kid. You're in your 40s now, right? And you're still doing it, and
Yeah.
you're just going to keep doing it because you love doing it. So, and after you had messaged me, or what we've been messaging, something a reel popped up in Instagram, because most of my stuff is whatever people I follow, and then but a lot of fitness and a lot of military stuff, right? This guy in the gym lifting, and it's one of those reels. He goes, "I do this," and he does some squats and does some all leg stuff, right? So I can do this. And he jumps off of a fucking building with a skateboard. And I go, well, that's fucking badass. You know, you're keeping up with it and staying fit and staying young, even into older age, and prepping so that you can still take a beating. And I
Yeah.
just think that's great, right? Because you don't have to stop doing the things you like because you get older.
Yeah.
Uh, another SF guy, he's a doctor. He says, we don't get we don't stop working out because we get older. We get older because we stop working out. And it's the same with
Yeah.
our hobbies, right? You don't have to
Yeah.
stop doing them. You're going to have to stop being a Green Beret eventually because you will age out in that one.
Yeah.
That has an expiration date. But a lot of these things you can just keep going and doing later on in
Yeah.
life. And it looks like that's what I like so much. I was like, man, this guy looks like he's having a fucking blast.
I am.
After doing all this cool shit, that in the military, the stuff I wish I got to do, And you're like, yeah, that was fun. I'm gonna go skateboard down at the skate park
Yeah,
with the kids. You know, do
yeah.
they call
And
you?
where I,
Are you the old guy? Are you still the old guy at the skate park?
yeah, but I look like I'm 17, so nobody really, yeah. I get that all the time. So they're like, man, you look like, how old are you? I'm like 44. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah, yeah. I'm in like baggy pants. I got the boom box, the Phillies hat. You know, I don't look like a typical, like, I don't look like the old dude at the skate park, you know. And that's how I grew up. Like, you know, the style and the way that I skate is like still the same 90s esque. Uh, There'll probably be a Wu-Tang song in my skate video, like, you know, and that's what I'm listening to in my head while I'm skating. That's what I grew up on, and I've just always stuck with it, you know. Be it, you know, I don't want to use like coin like, oh, being true to myself, but I mean that's just who I am. It's what I do, and I I like it. And yeah,
Yeah, being authentic. Other people can sense that you are being that way in the way you carry yourself, right? But it's most important to you. It's like, okay, I'm making this show. Well, this is an extension of me, and I want it to be
yeah,
as close to as I am as possible, and hopefully people like it. Because I hate listening or seeing stuff, and I go, "That's full of shit," because I know about the background of it. Like when I see a fitness reel, right, and I go, "That's full of shit." Like that's bullshit. But I know the background because why? It's like that, and I go, and I just post shit that I can do, but I was just used to be a normal person, right? I used to be a fucking. I just trained my ass off, and I can now do it. Other people can do it too, and that's a lot of the shit that we did, right? In the military, a lot of people you can do it if you can just get your mind into that space and get
yeah,
past the self doubt, which is difficult, especially with the internet age and social media, where everybody's comparing themselves to one another all the time,
yeah.
constant,
Clout chasing, and I'm not. Hey,
right?
if you like my stuff, you like it, you know. But I mean, I'm not hitting people up like, yo, share my stuff. I'm trying to, you know, go for broke, and you know, I'm not trying to, you know, do all that. Like, I do what I do. I put it out there, and you know, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. You know, if you have the freedom to scroll right past, you know.
Fuck. I'm in that weird position right now. I'm riding the line in my
Yeah,
mind of because I want to show where anybody who was a special operations, dudes or dudettes, as I say, can come on here and record an episode or message me and we will record an episode. If you want to come on, always. The door is always open to come on, no matter how big the show gets. But I can't make the show big unless I get content out there and I get
yeah,
somewhat well known people. So I'm like messaging people that have bigger following, like, can I just tag along? And I'm not saying this, but I want to have them come on, have a good interview with me, and then hopefully they share it with more people because
yeah,
this part of it's tough, like the
yeah,
technology side of getting your out from nothing. Because lesser known operators didn't exist January 1st at all, completely made up name everything at that time. So I'm like, trying to ride that line of, hey, y'all want to be friends? So,
no, I
but
think it's right. I mean, I've been on, I've done a couple of interviews with people like my buddy up in Philly that I used to box with, Pat Utrot, who's a skateboarder too. He lives out in Charlotte, and I was on his and did one. He's like, "Yeah, you want to come on and talk?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, man. It's just is what it is." And but his was he's got a pretty, I can't remember the name of it, man. I wish I could shout it out, and I'd probably look on my phone and find it. But he does like scary movie reviews and stuff, and which is pretty cool. And like he'll like go to watch a movie in the theater and like do a review on it on a podcast. And he like had me on just to like shoot the. Oh, it's called the Philly Pat Project. That's what it is. And yeah, he do like horror movie reviews and stuff, which is pretty cool. And he had me on there, just like, hey, I got a guest on today, you know. And
I
so
enjoy
that
it.
was pretty cool to do that one.
There's such a market, there's a market for that. People review stuff. When we're done, I have to jump on another one and a completely different type of show and
Yeah,
shoot after we're done. So
yeah,
it's like got to switch up the thing. But I enjoy doing this. But
yeah.
speaking of enjoy doing things, stickers. How'd you get into stickers?
Yeah. So this is pre-army. So I have a associate arts degree from Community College of Philadelphia with a focus in graphic design, and I started. I draw graffiti. A little bit of artistic talent, and but I always knew art, just doing art, being an artist wasn't going to pay the bills. Like I'm no Picasso or anything. So I was trying to figure out a way, uh, like, all right, what do I do with this? How do I make money? I don't want to get a degree in art and then teach art for the rest of my life. That would not be cool. And not no disrespect to anybody that does that stuff. I mean, I had a lot of great teachers, but even them, the teachers, like they have their own displays and sell the paintings and stuff and sell their art. And so I got a really good opportunity. It was the summer of, I think it was 99. Yeah, it was the summer of 99. And there was a sign shop that had just opened on Tarsdale Ave in Philadelphia called Alpha Sign Company, and by a guy named Jeff Joniak. And I wish I could find this guy because to show him that, like, hey, dude, like you had a huge impact on my life. Like I'm still doing it, after X amount of years. And he, I just walked in one day. It was like, hey man, look, I go to Community College Philadelphia. I was like, I just finished up like my graphic design classes. I got one more semester. I'm just looking for some work for the summer. And the guy's like, yeah, sure. So next thing you know, I'm like an apprentice in the sheet metal workers union because make these huge signs, like I'm talking like, you think like a Rite Aid or a CVS, like those big signs that they got out there, those big they call them channel raceways. Those big ones, like you gotta bend tin or aluminum and notch them. So now you're a sheet metal worker. So now I was an apprentice in the sheet metal workers union up in Philadelphia just by making signs. And I'm also doing my art. I'm learning about, vinyl stickers, doing electrical work because we would have to wire signs. And I learned a ton from this guy, and then learned another art program, um, how like decals, application fluids, and how to like do installs. And I got real handy really quick with making signs and doing designs. I made a ton of money, dude. I made like 4,000 in like 1 week, and homie paid me in cash because of the job that we had. Like I was like, this is awesome. And I was like, I could 100% do this for the rest of my life. This is like, I've made it. But I had to go back to school and finish one more semester for my degree. And I told him, I was like, hey, man, I really want to go back to school and finish my degree. And he's like, all right, cool. Whatever. And then that September rolled around. I went back. And then within 2 months, he had to shut down the business because he had me there and I was willing to do all this work. And he was willing to do all this work too, like hanging off the crane truck and everything. And wiring a sign like not exactly OSHA safe, but and doing that stuff. And he had to shut down because we were able to take on more work because I was there. And then he had to shut down just because he didn't have anybody else in the shop to be able to handle the workload that he was trying to take on. And he kind of got behind, and he had to shut down, which sucks because I would have finished that semester and I would have went right back into that sign shop in December and be like, I'm back, dude. I got my degree. Like, let's go. And which sucks because if that would have happened, me and you probably wouldn't have this conversation right now. And
Hmm.
I would have just been a sign guy in Philadelphia, and it would have been great. I would have made a lot of money. And so that's kind of where the sticker stuff got started. And so I didn't really mess with it. uh, Again, I worked for another company in Philly. Um, after I got my degree, I worked for a place called Aztec. It's called Aztec Sign Company, but the guy was more of a t-shirt printing place, and I started learning how to like silk screen t-shirts. But he wasn't doing signs. Like he would do like his like do signs where like he would do like sublimation on a mug, uh like this would be like what they call sublimation to put on a mug, and it's just like a heat press. You print this out, and it's like a heat press. They stamp it on. That's how these are made. And for anybody wondering out there, the process behind it's called
For all of
sublimation.
our printing aficionado listeners at home.
Yeah, and or for those that aren't, like that's what it's called, sublimation. And this is embroidery. This is silk screening. This is tattooing. So the
I'm gonna get some hate mail that says that he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about or something like that.
probably, and remember, if they got a problem with it, whatever. I've been boxing since I was knee high with Doug. They meet me out front, whatever.
You don't know what people are going to get upset about on the internet. I read other
Uh,
shows. I'll read comments and I go, "Were these people watching the same show?"
yeah,
Because I don't know where they're getting this information. But anyway,
yeah.
yeah, go on.
So fast forward. So I do the army stuff, the boxing, right? We already covered all that. Like I'm still skateboarding at the time. I get done with. I kind of alluded to it when I left active duty. Went into the National Guard as an M-Day soldier. 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. I got the job at Pro Sport Graphics doing signs, vinyl decals, vehicle wraps, and there was one other thing that he had there, but he also had a t-shirt printing shop. And but he was also printing other things too, which I learned a lot from him. Without getting fired from that job, I'll go into that because it's a pretty funny story. Because I actually had to call and be like, "Hey, is it okay if I say this about why I got fired?" He's like, "Yeah, dude, I don't care."
All
And
right.
so, and I got hired on with Mark over at Pro Sport Graphics. It was downtown Fayetteville, right behind the police station. So you come out back to police station where big gates are. Pro Sport Graphics was right there. I think it's a karate studio now. He moved, so if you're ever if I don't know the last time you were at Bragg, but Attention Inc. That's Mark's shop now. He makes a killing. He's got the t-shirt game on lock, and down there at Bragg. And so I worked for him. Learned a lot about. So one thing I didn't do when I was at Alpha Sign Company, because we were doing such big signs, we were kind of doing lighted signs. Like I didn't know anything about banners or printing. Like the technological jump from 1999 to 2011 was astronomical in the printing world. I was like, oh my God. I was like, and I was explaining to him, like, it's like, yeah, we don't do that no more. I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, we just print everything now. He's like, you don't really have to do too much. Like the only time we're going to do vinyl is if somebody wants a decal. And I'm like, oh, okay. Cause like really wasn't the printing, the material and the tech wasn't really there back in 99. Like now, like the different materials are out there are just a lot better. And the printing machines like the one I have here is just light years ahead of anything that we had in 99. And so I learned about printing banners, doing a lot of stuff with him. At building, we used to do a lot of printed golf signs. Like people would want to spot, and that was kind of like another niche, like where I didn't kind of see like the money, like how to make money. And you get a little, you can buy them, like like the little for sale signs you see at like Home Depot, and they're on that like that fluted what do you call it?
Chloroplast.
Chloroplast. Yeah, thank you. And so I would get the blanks, or he would have the blanks, and people would rent these, this whole sponsored by, and they would rent that sign from him, and they would give them back at the end. So it just have like this golf thing, and on the chloroplast, and then you just put the vinyl, this whole sponsor by, and he was just making money. Like every time anybody out in Southern Pines would have a golf tournament, they would rent that sign from him and make a quick $500. Like every weekend, like he had that steady stream of income coming out. Man, anything that's one thing I learned from him. And then during the summer of that year, mom and pops, it's T-ball season. everybody wants t-shirts for their and soccer and all that. Everybody wants t-shirts for the kids team. So I'm in that print shop like printing like crazy, and I'm just going through a print shirts. And I don't mind it. I just don't want to do it 24/7. I don't mind making shirts. It's just, and that was another learning how to. I already had silk screening experience, which hasn't changed at all. That one didn't change how to print t-shirts using the silk screen over the years. And so went in there and I kind of took off running with it. And there was 2 other people in there that worked with me, and it was a huge shop. Like we were probably doing, I think one day we did about 3,000 shirts in one day, like making for different people and ship and getting them out. And like that was a lot. I was like, man, that's a bit ridiculous. And then the one time, so after you finish, like the way the silk screen works is this doesn't just dry. You have to heat it up, and that what they call curing. So you're so after you pull it off, you got to put it through the heater, and that cures the ink. Another process called flashing, but I'm not going to get into that. So you're going to do depending on what you're doing. And so you send this thing through this giant oven. It's like a conveyor, and on the end, and they would just dump into a box. So there was this ice hockey team or roller hockey team, I can't remember. So as it goes through this oven, so there's like a space, and so we had this hockey bags, and I'm not the one printing. I can't remember her name, but she's printing them, and she'll print and then spin it to me, and I'll pull it off and put it on, and I'm just doing this, right? It's like an assembly line, and I'm just moving it because I'm not that's how we kind of had to rotate it so we didn't get tired and or get burnt out just doing one thing. And yeah, one guy was loading, putting the bags on, she's printing, and I'm throwing them in the oven, and we're just trying to crank these things out. So inside the oven that it's going through, there's like a little lip, and this hockey bag gets caught on it. And this thing is it's like an oven. It's like hot. Like it will set things on fire. So this thing gets caught in there, and I'm not even looking at the oven. I'm just expecting. And next thing you know, I'm like, and I look, I'm like, oh, there's smoke coming out, and there's 8 hockey bags jammed up. So I wound up setting a hockey bag on fire, and had to rip. Mark comes running in. We had to rip the machine apart and throw it out. He's like, I gotta let you go after that one, man. I'm like, yeah. So I wound up getting fired for burning a hockey bag.
Come on, man.
Yeah, but I mean, it is what it is, man. And he knew I was getting tired of it, and just because I didn't want to be in the print shop, he hired me to make signs and the graphics and stuff, and I was like, now I'm in a print shop for 4 months straight, just making T-shirts for designs that I'm not even doing, and yeah, I was just it was yeah, I got fired, but it was kind of mutual. I was kind of on my way out anyway, but
that's all right. What's the name of your company now?
Name of the company is Raw Graphics, and RAWGRAFFIX, which I really got a lot of work to do on the business side with that. And but yeah, man, I got stickers. I do all Scuba Buddha stuff. So if you see Scuba Buddha, I do his stuff for him. I do Fancy Bear stuff.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah, so I do. I actually got some stickers up, some old 82nd paratroopers, couple of units that I do their stickers for teams. I did all my team stickers for free. I'll probably shortly after this be doing lesser known operator stickers, but the
yeah, you definitely will be doing them. And tell Fancy Bear to follow my page so I can tag him and stuff.
I'll let him know. Oh man, I'll talk to you offline about that guy, man. You'll die laughing when I tell you how I know him. And
I'm sure it's fun. But yeah, I got to send you stuff for. Basically, I want this, and maybe I don't know I don't know how things are done these days, but everything's QR code and shit like that. But it's all about followers, and that's marketing. You stick it on there, and people follow you and things like that. But fucking, that's good. Yeah, we got to get you. they build the business up because SF guys and veterans in particular, but SF guys are pretty particular. If I can find an SF business to do a business with, I'll just do that because at least I know it's probably, again, 95% chance I know that it's going to be okay. Everything will be fine.
Yeah.
Whereas just looking up a random business that you never worked with for it and you don't know the
Yeah.
background of the person, you go, 50-50. So,
Yeah. And it's funny, like going, on the SF side of things, is like the hard, like if I was better at like boasting myself and sell, if I was a better salesman, right? Now I see the same thing. Like, dude, we are hard, like real quiet professionals. Don't talk about it, like, and it's like I'll have trouble selling it. It's like selling myself or selling, like advertising. Like, so I don't. We've never been, it's like it's 20 years. Like, don't tell anyone you're a Green Beret. Let the Green Beret come out of you. And I don't know if you ever had a cadre tell you that, but I've had a couple tell me that, and they're like,
uh,
you know,
when I got
but
out, I had a GB, he said, "Hey, that quiet professional shit, that's over. If you're not making any noise, nobody's gonna fucking hear you or know who you are." And and people hate on you for making noise, and there's guys that make too much noise that I hate them, but I think they're a piece of shit. So
yeah,
whatever. And that's just my opinion, but they're winning and succeeding at their thing. So good for them. Also, I
yeah,
just I don't talk about them on the show. So,
yeah,
but I'll support a brother's business, a couple dollars more, whatever. I don't give a
yeah,
fuck. As long as because then you get a network together. And that's what I want this show to be is,
yeah,
the guy that wrote the book back there, his episode came out, what was it, yesterday? And I asked him, I was like, "What are you doing to promote this? This is fantastic." And he goes, "Well, nothing." I was like, "Man, you got to fucking talk about this shit."
yeah,
I'll talk about it for you. That's what come on my show. I'll talk about how great you are. And until I find out that you're not great, then I'll fucking excommunicado
yeah,
from the LKO fraternity here that we're
yeah.
building. So, I mean, you did a lot of cool shit, man. Did you get to do everything you wanted to do? Because you did quite a few things that I wish I could have got the chance to do.
The only thing I didn't get to do was go to free fall school. That was the only. If that's the only thing I didn't get to do, happy. Like,
Knowing what I know about free fall teams, that seems like your personality right there. Yeah. But
I wish somebody would have saw. I wish he would have been my sergeant major.
yeah, yeah. Just the skateboarder guy. Like, yeah. Obviously, he's going to be on the free fall team. Send him
Yeah,
over there with those dudes hanging out on the beach and shit, wearing stilkies. But that was
yeah,
every SF team, but more
yeah.
so the Halo guys. So,
Hawaiian
oh
shirt
fuck.
Thursday, right?
Fucking that whole thing. Somebody was asking me about that. Like, why are these people wearing Hawaiian shirts? I'm like, I don't fucking know. I really don't know anymore. Explaining things. It just caught on and then it hasn't gone away.
Yeah,
But
teams are going to team, man.
yeah, it's all dependent on the team sergeant or the group of guys that have been there forever, leading the team where they want to be. Because
Yeah,
that's a wild thing in group. The guy I interviewed last night, completely different from you, and that's really awesome. Like the base of the show, like lesser known operators, right? Nobody would know, like you're a Green Beret,
yeah. I'm
just
like
from just
150 pounds soaking wet. Like if you put me and you next to each other in a room, and they'd be like, "All right, which one of these guys is the Green Beret?" You're going to point to you. You know what I
oh
mean?
every time, and that's the
Yeah,
image I try. But mine's geared towards the public, right? I'm trying to
yeah,
fulfill an image, but then I try to tell people, you walk down the hallway, it's just regular fucking dudes, regular
yeah,
tough, much tougher than you dudes. But they're still just regular people that do fucking extraordinary things.
yeah,
Like as you said, selection is the hardest ever thing you ever did in your fucking life.
yeah,
Fuck yeah. You send 90% of the army there, they're going to have a bad time. They're going to have a bad fucking time. And they do. They
yeah,
show up and they can't hack the PT test even. And
yeah.
that's basic army shit. So
Yeah, and some guys,
fucking,
and some dudes that say they're like, oh, selection was easy. And I'm like, oh, all right. I guess I went to the last hard class, like it was rough. I'm like, do you not remember being miserable? Like getting stuck in Bones Forts Creek? Like, what do you mean? Like, yeah,
Oh, selection fucking sucked. It fucking sucked. There was no point where I thought I was going to fail, but it fucking sucked. Everything we did, everything.
yeah,
The course completely different.
yeah,
I, there, I don't think I tell people I was in the first easy class, which is my claim to fame. I was in the first easy special forces class, not the last hard class, but yeah, selection fucking blew from right after the PT test because that was just normal, all the
yeah,
way through the end. And we're taking the rucks apart on the last day because the cadre told us we're done. We were not done. We were not done. Uh, got time to go for a little walk, boys. Or fucking terrible. Fuck that. And I got back from selection and watched 2 Weeks in Hell again after I got back and
yeah,
went, oof, I never want to do that. Fuck, that looks like it
yeah,
sucks.
yeah. And yeah, I remember. So that's so the selection story. So I remember coming back. So the trek, right, the final road march. Um, I remember coming up and like I could see the chow hall and like back when I went. You have the rocks and the huts? I'm not sure when you went through.
We were the
Like
half
they got
domes. Half
okay.
domes.
Yeah, we had like these huts. They had just built the $1 million bathroom that's there now, and which I don't think is there anymore. I haven't been out there in a while, but so like I'm coming back, I'm coming around the Luzon, and we're walking up, and like I could see it, like I could see glory, and I see the one cadre. It was kind of your last mind fuck, and like I'm walking up, and I'm like getting ready to like walk straight and go up, and he's like, nope, and he like points, and I'm like. And no, I'm walking up and like it's like they do it on purpose, and you're like, oh, you see the light at the end of the tunnel, you think you're gonna break it. And I'm like, man, I'm just like feeling sorry for myself. And I walk, and then I get to the gate, and it's like they like snake you around for like another mile. And like I get to the gate, and I look to the cadre, and I was just like puppy dog face, like, am I done? And he's like, yeah. He's like, go put your rock down. I'm like, I walked right into my hut and was like,
Fucking done.
that's right out, man. But he had a heart. He had the heart to tell me I was done. He's like, yeah,
The
go put your rock down. You're done.
ties it back to you, Philadelphia, right? When I graduated, I posted that Rocky 2 moment where he's talking after the match and he goes, aside from my kid being born, this is the greatest night of my life.
Yeah,
And yo, Adrian, I did it and he raises the championship. That's how I felt when I got my
yeah,
fucking beret. And same at
yeah,
selection too. Like
yeah,
that was it. I mean,
yeah,
full greatest thing I've ever done in my life.
yeah.
Did it. I was so proud of
No, but I
myself.
mean that's funny you said. I didn't even know Rocky said that, man. Like that's funny because I always say I'm like, yeah, my son being born, winning a Green Beret, and winning the boxing championship are like the three like pinnacles of my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. I
Everything I
believe that's
got
what he
right now
says
is
at the
icing
end.
on the cake, man. I'm chilling, riding my skateboard, making stickers. Like,
But that's how it is, right? And that makes me happy because guys get out and I just can't handle it. I couldn't handle it. A little different situation, but guys can't handle it, or they just poorly plan and they torpedo their life, drinking too much, or trying to come up with some other alternate reality in their mind that doesn't exist anymore and shit like that. So I
yeah,
fucking love to see it. I love about this show is guys are pulling themselves back together or just
yeah,
have found a new life and they're happy and things like that. So fucking, I
yeah,
love to see it.
yeah,
I love when the fucking guys are doing well and things
yeah.
like that. Just kind of,
And it took me a minute. So like I retired, like I stepped off of Bragg like March, like right before St. Patty's Day last year, and it's taken me, you know, like you have an adjustment period. So that same thing. Is, you say like about the Green Beret and the military being people's personalities. Like I just did this thing for 21 and a half years, and now it's like went from 100 miles an hour to zero. And like I struggle with some stuff. I got to make some phone calls to doctors and stuff and get a little bit of help. Like it's there and it's going to be there, until. But I've only been out for 6 months, so I mean, I'm sure I'll get past it, but it's still there. And and if anybody out there, thinks you're too tough for that, like go get help, man. Like there's plenty of resources. Like go get some help, whether it's substance abuse, mental health counseling, PTSD, whatever. There's professionals out there, and if you're like, oh, what would they know? It's like most of your military mental health counselors are prior military people that are there to help you. So
Yeah.
go get help.
There's tons of resources. Just we got to be willing to accept the fact that we need help, and most guys won't let themselves do that, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate.
It's like, I'm a Green Beret. I'm the toughest dude ever. It's like, nah, man, you're tired. You got to
Yeah,
figure it out.
yeah, that's
But
one of the
there is help
bases
out there
of
to help you figure it out. So uh, don't think that there isn't people out there. There's plenty of people out there willing to help. It's not just you're
oh
not you're
yeah.
not in the fight alone. So
You could, I would venture to say that any veteran could call any veteran they don't know, ever, have never met, have no connection. Just somebody hands them their phone number and they're going through a hard time and they call them. That veteran would probably sit on the phone with them for hours and just talk
yeah,
to them.
no, stop
So
doing what they're doing.
stop doing what they're doing just to talk to them because they don't want to have that person's family go through a situation they've sat through before. So people are more willing to help than
Yeah.
we give them credit for. But we get in our own mind about things. We make shit up that's not true. And
Trapped inside your own head.
yeah, it's a terrible place to be. But I don't
Yeah.
know. Like I said, I mean, you saw my post. Now I've put the bottle down and things are a lot clearer. I feel a lot better. So
Yeah.
working through things, talking to strangers, making podcasts and memes, and trying to be funny again. So,
Yeah.
hey man, I got 5 questions for you. If you got time for 5 more.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. What is your response to thank you for your service?
You're welcome. I go on about my day.
Yeah, just kind of
That's
a
it. I don't really I'm like, yeah, cool. Or my one commander, yeah, you're welcome. Best job I ever had. And then he goes on about his day. That's what he says. And I was like, yeah, you're welcome. I don't cool. If somebody says it to me, people don't thank me for my service on Memorial Day. It's like they don't know. They just be like, yeah, sure. And keep that
yep.
one to yourself. You're welcome.
Yeah,
Don't know your day.
that is a
Don't
touchy
don't argue with
subject.
somebody if something doesn't need to be argued with. Like
No, there's no
you're
reason for
picking,
that.
don't pick a fight over that.
Yeah. Now that's a touchy one on social media on Memorial
Yeah.
Day. I was like, oh, we got other shit to worry about here.
Yeah.
Let's calm down. Everybody just grill your wieners and have a good time.
Yeah.
What's the one characteristic that sets operators apart from conventional forces?
Endurance. It's not even characteristic. It's just the willingness to go further and endure it no matter how much this hurts. I'm going to keep going. Is it mental? Sure, there's a mental aspect of it. There's a physical aspect of it too. Some people just ain't genetically geared to endure that amount of pain and scrutiny. So endurance.
You know, every part of the core of being a Green Beret is a long fucking process, especially staying a Green Beret and
Yeah.
not fucking it up or getting kicked off your team or moved around or all that other shit. It's a fucking marathon. And then, you're always being assessed, right? Fuck.
Selection never ends, man.
No, it never ends. And now I'm out doing this and everyone's judging me now. And I've got to, be like, well, as long as I be me, I'll be fine. But,
Yeah.
all right, what is the one moment of your career that you wish you could go back and relive or redo?
My first trip to Afghanistan because it was the true SF mission. Train, equip, and lead indigenous personnel in a combat against a common enemy of the United States. I would want that one back. That was awesome.
Yeah. How far out of the Q course were you on that rotation?
Uh, a year.
So how similar to Robin Sage was it? Just right there.
Uh, aside from link up and bona fides, that didn't happen. But your G chief would have been the commander of the commando schoolhouse because we were at Moorhead, and then we trained our dudes, and then we took them back to our fire base, or no, they went to another base, and then we went back to ours, but then we went up to their base and lived with them, and then did more training and took them out on missions and went and did some really cool, fun stuff. The gunfights, the rah rah rah, and all that. Like it was awesome, and I would say it was about 50% of Robin Sage, but definitely the main aspect of what Robin Sage teaches you that most other places don't get, at least in my personal opinion, is to teach someone how to teach.
Mm.
Because you might have all this knowledge, but you're probably the worst instructor in the world. Like Robin Sage actually, they got the G Chief, once they come out of character and they're like actually helping you, and the cadre is like not trying to like screw you. They're like, no, this is how you teach this. This is how you say this, how you convey this information, and teaching you how to teach. That is, uh, that's what really helped. And that's what I learned at Robin Sage that really helped me with that first mission and writing that training plan for the commando schoolhouse, and then being up there in front of the class and teaching. Yeah. So I'd say about 50% of what I learned in Robin Sage I used on that trip. And then other parts of Robin Sage I used in other trips too. And as far as like linking up with the guerrilla force and all that, and like I never got to do that one. I hope I know. That's to be a scary one, man. I hope I never do that.
Um, yeah, it was interesting talking to Perry Blackburn in episode 10, right? One of the horse soldiers. He was the B team commander, and they went in, and he goes, "It was just like fucking Robin Sage, man."
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
that's fucking cool. Like, if you're listening at home, you don't know what we're talking about. It's a big exercise, Robin Sage, where everything as an SF guy comes together, and to get to go do that, to do Robin Sage for one thing is just amazing. It's a fucking
Yeah.
cool thing to do. But then you go do it in real life, and then your life and death situation, uh, it's got to be unbelievable, right? It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
fucking
He did it live,
unbelievable.
you know?
Live. Yeah, no redos, no fucking
Yeah.
take
We do
backsies.
it live.
Yeah, fuck it, we're doing it live. It's just so fucking crazy to me.
Yeah.
And there's people that actually did that shit, so awesome. Just the pinnacle of what it is to be a Green Beret is that
Yeah.
getting to
Yeah.
do
I got to do
unconventional
half of it.
warfare.
So, and I'm satisfied.
After, I mean, really, the
Yeah.
gas company, when I pour gas, they after point one they round up. So at point five, I think sounds good. We'll just round all the
Yeah.
way up to 100. So
Yeah.
what what's the best piece of advice that you received during your career?
Uh, oh man, I received a lot. Um, uh, so I'll do a piece of advice that I received and a piece of advice that I give. Um, so a piece of advice that was given to me by my first team sergeant is like, you know, and this happened like while I was training people, and I was like, why can't this person do this? And he tells me, he says, Clack, you're very skilled. You know what you're doing. But guess what? All these people you're training, they're not you. You got to train them based on according to how they're reacting to what you're putting out. And I was like, wow, that was an eye opener for me. And further on down the line, that once I understood that, then I learned about the light bulb theory. And the light bulb theory is me, like I could be teaching someone, I don't know, how to draw their pistol, right? And I'll use that as an example. So that And you might be on a range with me, right? And me and you know exactly how to do this, right? You know how to draw the pistol correctly and how to present to the target and squeeze off that first shot. But for whatever reason, he's not understanding it, right? And this was part of the thing that my first team sergeant Todd taught me. Just because I know what I'm doing doesn't mean that the person that I'm teaching is going to pick it up to me. And I'd be like, he's not getting it. Fuck him, whatever. And we've seen instructors do this, right? And I'm sure you've seen it, like, fuck this guy, you don't know what he's doing, right? Whereas learning, like, all right, hey, I'm going to have Nick show you how to do this. And then within 2 seconds of you showing him how to do this, the light bulb goes off. Feel free to use the light bulb theory, because you're saying the same information. It's just coming from someone else in a different way. And he picked it up. So piece of advice that I received, and that's the piece of advice that I give, is the light bulb theory. If you can't convey the information, find somebody else that knows the same information, that's on the same level as you, and have them do it. And I guarantee you that person that you want to get their skill level up will.
Yeah, just reiterating. You hear something for the second time. Oh, now I got it. Or maybe if you would have hit them with it a 4,000th and 30th time, maybe they would have got it that time.
Maybe.
Or maybe you never know. Or that's the if we want to go with theories, that's the pickle jar theory of when you hand it off. Well, I loosened it for you.
Yeah.
So
hey, every gambler quits right before they hit it big.
That's right. I mean, I in the future I do win the Mega Millions. I just don't know if I'm going to buy that ticket.
Yeah.
Hey man, last one. What were you afraid of during your service, and what are you afraid of now?
What was I afraid of? Man, I was afraid. I wasn't really scared until I didn't really start getting scared until or like being afraid. Like, yeah, you're gonna be a little scared of deploying. You might get hurt. You might die, right? But we all signed up, right, up to and including our life. But after my son was born, it was kind of, I started being a lot more careful. Managing my steps a little better, being more proficient, less throw caution to the wind whenever I was doing something, because I wanted to come home to my son and my wife. And so probably the main thing I was scared of is that I would get so hurt or so incapacitated that I couldn't come home and enjoy, raising my son or being with my wife. So that was probably the thing that I was most afraid of. It's not being able to either see them again or just not being, capable to be able to enjoy time with them.
And now?
What am I afraid of now? That that I'm going to hit my head in the garage while I'm skating my mini ramp and nobody's going to be around. I'm going to bleed out. Like, I don't really know. That was weird. I haven't, be honest with you, I haven't really thought about that one. Like, what am I afraid of now? Because I'm not really doing anything hazardous that I would be afraid of.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good answer or not, but
That's
I'm
all
not
right,
like,
man.
I ain't afraid of anything. Like, I'm always like all right, I got one. Getting in a car accident, just because that's like the number one cause of death in America, is getting in I'm very 10 and 2. I drive like a grandma. And sorry, Mom, I don't mean to say that. My mom actually drives really well. She watches this. And but but yeah, like car accidents like freak me out. Like I've seen a couple. I hit a bear. I thought that was it. Light flashed before my eyes. Like, that was scary. And my wife and son were in the car, like 10-hour trip back to Philly, back down here. I'm 20 minutes from my house and hit a black bear. Like, that could have been it. We've got all that gear in there in the in the truck and like some could slid hit somebody, this like that could have been it. The whole family wiped out right there. You know, like something happening to her, my son. Like I'm afraid of that. Like I try, that's what freaks me out more than
Yeah.
anything because it's something
Mitigate.
that's no
Yeah,
control
that's
over.
yeah. Well, I mean, you do. You can, not drive like an asshole and try and take steps, but yeah, sometimes shit happens, and you can't be cognizant of what did my previous guest? He said, control the controllables and influence the uncontrollables. So that's the best we can
Yeah,
do with that. It's those sorts of
I can't
uncontrollable things.
influence the guy spinning out in front of me that's smoking meth.
That one, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
So, but well, fuck, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking with me.
I appreciate you having me on. Hopefully, people watch it and they hopefully they get something out of it. Hopefully, I'll get some constructive criticism. And
Ah,
I know I say a lot. I try not to, but I'm sure somebody's like, "You say a lot." I don't know what I'm going to
I've
say.
been investigating the features here. I haven't tried it yet, but there is a AI setting to remove the ums and the ahs. So, that's probably on the cards coming up. But I only try one thing a week, one little adjustment in my
Yeah.
editing process. So I don't want to do too much at once. So we're slowly changing the show, hopefully into a more polished version. But hey, man, you got anything for me?
Uh, no, man, I'm good. Yeah. Oh, for the people out there that are thinking about going to selection or any selection or trying out for anything, old unit guy said this to me. Don't wait till you're 100. Go now.
That's a cooler version of, or what I say is just fucking do it. Just
Yeah.
fucking do it. Yeah,
Don't
just
wait
do
till
it.
you're 100.
Oh, don't wait till you're 100, because that's going to be torture when you're looking back and you can't do it anymore. Like, fuck, I
Yeah.
should have. And then you're telling those stories like, oh, I wish I would have gone to selection. Shut the fuck up. Get the fuck out of
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Fucking. Okay, all right. Maybe you shouldn't. Yeah, okay, I guess he did get blown up by an IED, but still, God. Okay, I can't really make it. But all right, man. Well, bye, everybody.